This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol live. It's a freaking Wednesday. We're on an hour early because we have Joe Biden at 8 o'clock is going to be giving his farewell address from the White House. We had all kinds of other news going on. We got the winds picking back up in California. We got a polar vortex set to hit most of the goddamn country over the weekend. We've got the vets that interrupted Pete Hegseth in yesterday's hearing. You're going to hear from them. Lena Khan's going to tell us about all the litigation that she's hoping will still go through, despite the fact that she is going to be leaving her post as the FTC chair. PB Girl, Minty, good evening. Zon, Dougie, Princess Kimberly, Holiday. So glad to see all of you. So we're going to find out what that news be doing up until 8 o'clock. Then we're going to find out what that Joe Biden be doing. And then we'll do the rest of our news. We're going to try to get through the political stuff before Joe Biden. And then we can get to the crime stuff after Joe Biden. We're going to cover all the facets of the ceasefire. Shelly, good evening. I'm not high enough for this shit. I've already talked to Sparkles. She will be here on Sunday. If it holds, that's what I said. Are you singing tonight or are you singing on Sunday? The ceasefire starts on Sunday. She said Sunday because I don't think it's going to happen. So there you have it. But Sparkles tentatively will be here on Sunday night to sing Bette Midler's From a Distance. She promised this 7, 8, 9 months ago. All those times that AOC and Joe Biden said they were working tirelessly for a ceasefire, Sparkles was like, yeah, sure, I'll sing Bette Midler whenever they do. So that's where we're at. Sparkles may sing Bette Midler for you on Sunday. Speaking of bets, Betty White apparently fat-shamed Sally Struthers. If we have time, the Hodge twins are going to convince us that the moon landing didn't happen. We're totally going to watch that video now, whether it's tonight or not, because there's more important things going on. We've got a jam-packed show. Girl in the Gray, good evening. But if we get to it, the Hodge twins are going to tell us about how the moon landing never happened. Here's your meme of the day. It took me forever to find one. I usually like it to have something to do with the day's news, but this was too good not to go with it. A cat was forcibly arrested after stealing and eating from a dining room table. Under arrest for what charge? For eating a succulent Chinese meal. He's got the righteous indignation that dude had on his face. Was everybody here from when we watched the update? The guy died, last year, I think? But just in the last couple of years, he actually met up and had dinner with one of the cops that arrested him at that restaurant. And we watched the news cameras putting them together and retelling the story. It was great. Love that. For anyone who is not aware, he was wrongfully arrested. Man was a pimp. I want to go to that restaurant because I've not had a lot of succulent Chinese meal. Maybe never had a Chinese meal I would consider succulent. Okay, I've cooked myself. I make a sweet and sour chicken that's really good with some shrimp fried rice and some wontons. I totally make Chinese for myself. But then again, it's American Chinese. But like, you go to a Chinese buffet, you ain't really getting a succulent meal. Succulent is not the way. It might be satisfying. It might be tasty. I've had many a tasty, satisfying Chinese meal. Succulent. I feel like you got to go into an actual Chinese restaurant and get something made to order. You don't just go to a buffet, get some General Tso's chicken. There you go, DJ Duck. Gotta get me some Peking duck from the Chinese place a block away. Love it. And I can't wait to have Peking duck with you. Quesadilla, DJ Dubbed, anonymously. Welcome in, my friends. Good evening. By the way, apparently, according to this weird dude on Twitter that keeps just showing up, I don't even know who he is or where he came from. Apparently, you're all sock puppets. I'm doing a show to no one, and I'm a loser that has accomplished nothing in life. Oh. Hope you're all having a great evening. We're going to be covering Joe Biden's farewell. I had to talk to the landlord this morning. I've been trying to pay him. He takes Venmo, and that's all he takes. And Venmo, for some reason, does not let me pay my landlord. So, like, I just went and got cash. Curiously took me to get cash this morning. And, like, so he stops by, and I'm giving him the cash. And, like, I'm chit-chatting with him, but it's still early in the morning. And he even said, like, oh, I didn't knock on your door because I thought you might be streaming. I'm like, oh, shit. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you, like, being considerate and everything. And I told him I was streaming the hearing. And I was like, for Secretary of Defense. What's the dude's name? Fox News. And I'm like, I can't fucking think of it. And he looks at me, he's like, Sean Hannity? Like, no, dude. Hexeth. Is my landlord Matt Gaetz? Good Lord, no. I think he's a Trumper, though. I've seen his Facebook. But so far, he's been pretty cool to me. Siffle and Ollie? What are you guys talking about? I have no idea. Let me run down what we're gonna talk about. A dude in Berkeley apparently shot a pedo. We'll see if he actually if the dude is legitimately a pedo and the guy had evidence, then I'm totally behind that. That's really cool. The problem is there's a lot of people out here calling people pedos that aren't pedos. A kid was injured in a school shooting in Georgia. Apparently it was self-inflicted wound. Police sergeant in Denver has been fired after video came out of him flashing his badge. A massage parlor employee has been arrested after offering an undercover officer sexual favors. A woman offered some teenage boys beer to shovel her driveway. That's totally cool. Where it crosses the line is that after she got them drunk, she assaulted them. Gym teacher has been fired after using a cleaning product in a sex act. The most absurd news, politics, and current events on the internet. We're going to hear from Lena Khan. We're going to hear from the vets that interrupted the Hexeth hearing yesterday. Mr. Beast might be buying TikTok. The FDA has banned red dye. Mike Johnson removing a Republican from the Intelligence Committee chairmanship at the request of Donald Trump. Trump got some coke at Mar-a-Lago yesterday. We have ICE records that show that Biden was planning on expanding detention orders of migrants. And we're going to talk about the weather. It's doing some bullshit, acting out of pocket here in the United States. All that and a lot freaking more tonight on the Troll Patrol Live. Good evening, Lenny. Greetings, my friend. Mary Sue. Oh, are Ollie and Syphil, are those the Hodge twins? Is that what you're referring to? I've got a video of the Hodge twins saying they are going to convince us that the moon landing didn't happen, and we're totally going to watch that video, but we might not be able to get to it tonight because the news be doing a lot of stupid shit, maybe a lot of good shit. We'll see. A ceasefire has been confirmed, apparently by the governments of Qatar, Israel, and Hamas, as well as the United States. Everyone's saying a deal is on.
International mediators say Israel and Hamas have agreed to a ceasefire deal, pausing their 15-month war in the Gaza Strip. Qatar's Prime Minister and U.S. President Joe Biden announced the agreement after sponsoring weeks of difficult negotiations that also included involvement by President-elect Donald Trump. The deal calls for a 6-week halt in fighting beginning on Sunday. And during these 6 weeks, about 1/3 of the hostages held in Gaza are to be released. Israeli troops will begin to pull back from their positions. Israel will release hundreds of Palestinian prisoners, and hundreds of thousands of displaced Palestinians can begin to go back to their former homes. The international community also will pour large amounts of desperately needed humanitarian aid into Gaza. Hamas quickly announced its acceptance of the deal.
Hundreds of trucks have already arrived with aid in Gaza.
So far remained silent. Israel's figurehead president appealed to the Israeli leader to quickly get his cabinet's approval. The agreement is a major breakthrough, but it does not guarantee an end to the war. But its sponsors are hoping that it will jumpstart negotiations in a future phase aimed at ending the conflict altogether. That would mean a full withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza, the return of all remaining hostages, and ending a conflict that has caused widespread destruction and sorrow across the region.
The Palestinians have been celebrating the ceasefire deal. All reports indicate that Israel is still bombing the shit out of Gaza, and it is still a very dangerous place to be. But as I said, hundreds of trucks have actually entered Gaza with aid. Joe Biden talked about the ceasefire agreement earlier today. He had Harris and Anthony Blinken with him and was asked if Trump deserves some credit.
Well, those of you who have followed the negotiations can attest. The road to this deal has not been easy. I've worked in foreign policy for decades. This is one of the toughest negotiations I've ever experienced. This deal was developed and negotiated under my administration, but its terms will be implemented, for the most part, by the next administration. In these past few days, we've been speaking as one team. This has been a time of real turmoil in the Middle East. But as I prepare to leave office, our friends are strong, our enemies are weak, and there's a genuine opportunities for a new future. These developments in the region, which the United States helped to shape, change the equation. And so now, the terror network that once protected and sustained Hamas is far weaker. Iran is weaker. Iran is weaker than it's been in decades. Hezbollah is badly degraded. And after more than 15 months of war, Hamas's senior leaders are dead. Thousands of Hamas fighters are dead. And the military formations have been destroyed. With nowhere to turn, Hamas finally agreed to releasing hostages.
Finally?
You know, there was no other way for this war to end.
The revisionism.
The hostage deal. And I'm deeply satisfied. This day has finally come.
Who's the history books credit for this, Mr. President?
Do you think he believes that? Do you think he's so insulated that he genuinely believes what he just said? Absurd.
Who's the history books credit for this, Mr. President? You or Trump?
Is that a joke? Oh.
I mean, I would rather believe that he is ignorant of the facts than that he just came out there and did that on purpose. The reason why is Trump wanted a deal and he didn't. If Harris was the incoming administration, I don't know that we'd have a ceasefire right now. And that is an indictment of the fucking liberals. Let's go to Drop Site News. Jeremy Scahill had on Professor Sami Al-Aryan, a Palestinian academic, to talk about the Biden administration's failures.
What's your assessment of how significant Trump's interventions have been since he became the president-elect?
Monumental. So until recently, mediators would tell me that everything would change if Biden would only name and shame Netanyahu, call him out publicly for rejecting and refusing the ceasefire repeatedly since May last year. So basically, everything that was changed is just Trump jumping in and doing that, nothing more. All he needed to do was just apply a little bit of pressure on Netanyahu and say, get a deal done. Netanyahu got it done immediately. Whereas for Biden, as a senior Arab diplomat put it recently to me, she said, Biden is just ideological. Trump is transactional. He's a businessman. Biden, his heart is in it. He's fully devoted to supporting Israel. And he sees any pressure on Israel as, quote, tainting his legacy. He wants his legacy to be the most pro-Israeli president there is ever. So he chose that legacy over
Well, he accomplished it.
Opportunity to win. Now with Trump, there is another dimension, as Dr. Sami mentioned, there's a transactional dimension that we don't know about yet. We know, of course, that Trump's pressure on Netanyahu sealed the deal. That is something that is undoubted. In the very last minutes of the negotiations, Netanyahu tried to maneuver by insisting on a couple hundred meters of the buffer zone. So now it's 700 meters. He wanted it to be 900 instead. And then Steve Witkoff had to press him and get that compromise out of him, and other issues as well, without which a deal would have never been sort of completed. But on the other hand,
it's this Steve Witkoff guy. Like, he has been the driving force. He is one of Trump's incoming foreign policy advisors.
We are getting reports from Israeli media that are saying that Trump gave Netanyahu a gift bag in return, and that gift bag includes a promise to allow Israel to violate the ceasefire and provide them with cover for it. So in other words,
of course,
the war in Gaza as soon as the first phase is completed, never going into phase 2, just getting 33 hostages out and then back to war again. The gift bag also reportedly includes lifting all Israeli settlers, extremists, settler organizations, Israeli shady tech companies like NSO that is responsible for the Pegasus spyware, lifting all sanctions on those companies and individuals. And number 3, allowing Israel a major chunk, a major land grab or land theft in the West Bank. So that might be the case. It checks out. The other thing is that this morning, until the very last minute, we're getting reports from Netanyahu saying that he's telling Bezalel Smotrich, no, don't worry. It's only going to be a pause. It's not the end of the war. We will resume the war again. And in return, Smotrich asking for, quote, forcing Gazan migration as one of his conditions, is that even if there is a ceasefire, even if the war ends, you need to maintain conditions in Gaza as hell on earth, make it as uninhabitable as possible, ban concrete and cement from going in like Israel did in 2014, prevent reconstruction, and then people will have no option but to leave or face death by starvation, cold, or disease. So that's pretty much it.
Yep, that sounds about right. So Trump gets a symbolic victory. Biden gets made to look like a bitch. We get a pause in humanitarian aid, which is fucking amazing. And it will save lives, but the situation is just going to deteriorate even further 6 months, a year from now. Fucking hate it here. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken spoke about the deal earlier today on CNN.
First, the firing stops. Hamas, Israel stop firing. Israel pulls back its forces. Hostages begin to be released. Prisoners come out of Israeli jails and go back. And we surge humanitarian assistance to people who so desperately need it. All of that happens during a 6-week period. But also during that 6 weeks, we have to negotiate the understandings to get to a permanent ceasefire so that Israel pulls all of its forces out of Gaza, Hamas doesn't come back in, and there's the necessary governance, security, reconstruction arrangements so that Gaza can move forward.
Is that sorted?
That's not sorted. We've worked on it intensely for the last 6 or 7 months, intensely but quietly with Arab partners, with others. I think there's some basic understandings that we've reached, but the ceasefire itself, hopefully, would concentrate minds and get people to agree on what's necessary to get that day after.
Israel apparently estimates that there are 93 hostages that are still alive. They believe that with something like 20 or 30 that are women and children, and those are going to be the first ones released. It's so many a week for the next 6 weeks. And if the reporting we just heard from Dropsite News holds, they're going to get the first set of hostages back and then resume the bombing.
Post-conflict plan in place.
So we're speaking as your successor is undergoing confirmation hearings, Senator Marco Rubio. Do you think that the Trump administration will take your ball and roll with it down the line? Or could they say, hey, nice try, guys, but we don't care?
Oh, of course, it will be up to them, but not only up to them, it'll be up to the parties and all the people concerned. I think there's a strong impetus among all involved.
They're doing their best to try to take credit for it.
Hopefully we'll achieve in the coming hours or certain
what they could have done
but to
a year ago.
Israel does not have an incentive to remain bogged down in Gaza with an insurgency, bleeding it, continuing to put pressure on its economy, on its reserves. The Palestinian people certainly don't need a continuation of Gaza. Countries throughout the region don't want that. So I think there's going to be, assuming the ceasefire is reached, strong pressure from all sides to make sure that it becomes permanent. And the best way to do that, I think, is through the work that we've done. But it'll be up to the administration to decide whether to try to carry that forward, whether it has some other way of doing this. The most important thing, though, is get the ceasefire, make it permanent.
I don't know whether you agree, but many analysts are saying that actually Trump's arrival has jump-started this and has focused people's mind and at least got this ceasefire to be serious.
No, I believe it's 100% on Trump.
Planned back in May and etc. There are people like a very prominent Israeli hostage negotiator who says, this is not a great deal, this interim one. It's only about 30 hostages. Many have died in the interim since May, that it could have been done much earlier. And I know USG blames Hamas for its role in delaying. But I don't know whether you saw what Itamar Ben-Gvir said to the Times of Israel just over the last couple of days. He basically said that me and Smotrich have successfully prevented any ceasefire deals for the last year, and we still want to prevent this one. How do you react to that? And are you willing to agree that also Israel has held up what could have been the Biden?
It's all on Israel.
Saved many lives many months ago.
So,
and thank you. While CNN has been horrible on the issue, Christian Amanpour with CNN International has been amazing on this issue. So thank you for sitting down with Secretary Blinken on this.
Should this have happened months ago? Yes. Could it have happened months ago? Yes. Were there occasions when each side did things that made it more difficult to get this over the finish line? Yes, including Israel. But predominantly, it's been Hamas. And certainly in the last few months, Hamas had refused to engage. We finally got it to re-engage. And in these last weeks in particular, Hamas has been the party that's held back on finally getting to yes, but we've managed to push to a point where, as I said, we're on the brink. Look, I think what the basic dynamic has been this. First, what was so important was that there had to be an agreement that this would proceed in two phases, that we'd have these 6 weeks where everyone stops firing, Israel pulls back, hostages come out, prisoners are released, humanitarian assistance goes in, and final arrangements for an enduring ceasefire are made. For months, Hamas wouldn't accept that. The president went forward, went public in May, very end of May, early June, with a detailed proposal for that. And then we went around the world, and everyone came out in support of it, including the UN Security Council. And at that point, Hamas was isolated, and it signed on to that framework. And ever since, as I said, we've been working to implement it, to get the...
Does Anthony Blinken believe what he's saying, or is it just his job to say that because Joe Biden believes what Anthony Blinken is saying?
Final arrangements. But there have been two dynamics that have really, I think, held things back more than anything else. One, Hamas was hoping that the cavalry would come to the rescue, that it would get a wider war with Lebanon and Hezbollah, with Iran. And the actions that we took, along with Israel, made it clear that the cavalry was not coming to the rescue. It couldn't count on that. Second, it hoped that by holding back, pressure would just mount on Israel to give in and to accede to the terms of a ceasefire hostage deal on Hamas's terms. And there again, that hasn't happened. So I think as we look at it, as we've seen it, yes, have there been moments when things have happened on one side or the other that have made it harder to get it over the line? Yes, but fundamentally, it's been Hamas, but now we're at the point where hopefully Hamas sees that the only way forward is through the ceasefire.
Just finally on this issue, Ben Gvir and his ilk, they are extremist firebrands that even the US has sanctioned in the past. They want settlements. They say that they want to stay in Gaza.
Yeah. He is lying. Every bit of this has been a lie.
Points to a permanent stay there in some parts. Are you sure, is USG sure that Israel will pull out, or that it will stay for, I don't know, months, years afterwards?
What I can tell you is this, Christian. First, it's our policy, and it's been our policy very clearly, including principles that I laid out months ago at the very beginning of the conflict in Tokyo, that there can't be a permanent occupation of Gaza, that Israel has to pull out, that the territory of Gaza should...
Everything, Corilla.
Of course, it obviously can't be run by Hamas or used as a base of terrorism. The ceasefire deal itself requires the Israeli forces to pull back, and then,
it's stunning,
permanent ceasefire, to pull out entirely. But that's what's so critical about this post-conflict plan, the need to come to an agreement on its arrangements, because there has to be something in place that gives Israelis the confidence that they can pull out permanently and not have Hamas fill back in and not have a repeat of the last, really, decade.
I mean, I know smart people can convince themselves of some really dumb things. But I mean, like, he doesn't believe what he just said. It's just his job to say it, right? Like, there can't be people that believe that aren't Joe Biden, that's insulated from facts. Well, I mean, quesadilla, they are going to be hacks, and they're going to be worse. Let me give you a little schadenfreude, I guess. This was Anthony Blinken yesterday as he was interrupted by protesters.
Unilateral and misguided exit from the Iran nuclear deal. We made clear there was a path to mutual return to compliance if Tehran was willing to take the steps necessary. At the same time, we strengthened America's robust sanctions regime on Iran and delivered on President Biden's commitment.
You will forever be known as Bloody Blinken, Secretary of Genocide. You have the blood of hundreds of thousands of innocent people on your hands. We have spent
Thank you. I respect your views. Please allow me to share mine. Thank you.
Appeal to your humanity in front of your house. We bring you letters. We've held car rallies. The blood of innocent civilians, of children, is on your hands. We will not forgive.
These are the goals that I've worked to advance over a dozen trips to the region since October.
Run it back. Let's do it again. Bloody Blinken.
You're a brutal war criminal.
Is that hard to achieve? Yes.
This is not a conflict.
Peace
and
in the
this is
region
not
always
a
has
war. For over 450 days, Israel has committed genocide against the Palestinian people. We have sent over $25 billion to Israel in the past year. That's $70 of all of our money. $70 that we are using to send weapons. You lied! ProPublica, look it up. It depends.
Well, I mean, you are a war criminal, dude. Sorry about your luck. I mean, I'm giving you the benefit of a doubt. I'm being as charitable as I can, saying that you don't actually believe the things that you said, hoping that you don't actually believe in the policy that you have put forward. It's the president's decision. You serve at the president's discretion. I understand that. It's the president's agenda. It's the Biden administration that deserves the blame. But you carried it out, motherfucker. Just following orders is no defense. And you should be at The Hague with Joe Biden. But mate, somebody should have threw a shoe at him. But make no mistake about it, Donald Trump should be at The Hague. George W. Bush should be at The Hague. Dick Cheney. Barack Obama. Barack Obama should be tried here in the United States for murdering an American citizen with a drone. If you want me to come up with other instances, he should be prosecuted under American law and put in Guantanamo Bay, if you ask me. I already know if Pete Hegseth is confirmed for his position as Secretary of Defense, he's going to be a war criminal. Yesterday, we watched his confirmation hearing. Multiple times during his hearing, he was interrupted by protests. And guess what? They were all military vets. Let's hear from them.
Please support our work at democracynow.org.
Damn right. Support Democracy Now!
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, War, Peace, and the Presidency. I'm Amy Goodman. We're continuing to look at Pete Hegseth's confirmation hearing to become Defense Secretary before the Senate Armed Forces Committee. 3 U.S.
You never hear about Guantanamo, but it's still fucking open.
This is former merchant.
And that's a war crime on Obama's
with Veterans for Peace.
Pete, you are a misogynist. Not only that, you are a Christian Zionist, and you support the war in Gaza.
Former military intelligence analyst Josephine Guilbeault was also removed and arrested Tuesday after interrupting Hegseth's confirmation hearing. She served in the military from 2006 to 2023.
War fighting, accountability.
Hey, corrupt senators, when are you going to stop bombing babies in Gaza? Veterans are committing suicide and are homeless. My father, a veteran, committed suicide, and you're sending money to bomb babies.
Yo, sit down.
I'm leaving, man. Fuck.
We need money. We need money for veterans committing suicide. Veterans are homeless. We need money here, not to bomb babies in Gaza. Shame.
Goddamn right.
Father, a veteran committed suicide. We need money to help veterans who have PTSD, not money to send to bomb babies. My father was a veteran who committed suicide, yet we send our money to bomb babies in Gaza. What are we doing? Shame on all of you who don't speak up against the genocide.
And shame on the cops taking her out.
Josephine Guilbeault in a minute, but this is former U.S. Army Ranger Greg Stoker, who was carried out of Tuesday's hearing. Stoker served 4 combat deployments in Afghanistan.
Retention crisis and
20 years of illegal war and genocide in Gaza. That's the recruiting crisis. Come on. No.
I have the utmost respect for all 3 of these people.
Let's go.
Can I leave?
No, let's go.
Can I leave, please?
Let's out this way.
That was former U.S. Army Ranger Greg Stoker, who joins us now in Washington, D.C., along with former military intelligence analyst Josephine Guilbeault. They were both arrested for protesting during Pete Hegseth's confirmation.
And you were both true patriots.
Senate Armed Services Committee. We thank you both for being with us. Josephine, let's begin with you. Talk about your service in the military, and then talk about why you were protesting and got arrested yesterday.
Thank you, Amy, for having me on. I served 17 years in the military. I was a combat medic, and then I became an intelligence officer. And I have a background in working with, combat units, infantry units. And the reason that I am protesting in this way specifically is because I have used all other avenues to try and reach my leadership about what we are participating in and funding, which is the genocide inside of Gaza. For over 460 days, I have witnessed with my own eyes children getting bombed daily, indiscriminately. I understand what self-defense is, and what I'm witnessing is not self-defense. And I do have a concern, especially as a Christian woman here in America, that someone like Pete is using his religion to try and approve of what we are witnessing. And so I look at the next 4 years of him serving in this position, which he is unqualified for, and it looks like we're going to most likely see more death and destruction at the hands of the military-industrial complex.
Can you talk about your own father as you were being taken out? You were talking about military suicides.
Yes. So something that I advocate a lot for is the fact that in America there are 22 plus veteran suicides a day, as well as a significant increase in veteran homelessness. Over the past year, so many veterans are waking up and coming to the reality of what we participated in. And basically, we were used as pawns for the rich who have assets and interests. It's not our country's interests. It's not the American people's interests. It's the elite's interests. And they use us to, as pawns to go to these wars and ultimately kill innocent people. And so for me, this is obviously my father was a veteran, and I stated he did commit suicide. This is something that I feel like our country lacks the ability or capacity to actually acknowledge. The reason why veterans are committing suicide and have PTSD is because they sacrifice their humanity and consciousness in order to carry out these horrific actions. And now that's caught up to them. And there's no healing that can be allowed in these communities until our government and leaders can actually acknowledge what veterans are experiencing.
Greg Stoker, we just watched you carried out of that hearing yesterday. You are a former U.S. Army Ranger with a background in special operations and human intelligence. You're now an anti-war activist and analyst with Mint Press News. You had 4 combat deployments from 2009 to 2013 during the Afghanistan war surge. In fact, Pete Hegseth also was an infantry officer in the Army National Guard. He deployed to Afghanistan, Iraq, and Guantanamo. Explain why you were out there yesterday getting arrested at the hearing.
Well, I felt like I had to do something to disrupt it. As an anti-war veteran activist, I take a lot of notes from the Vietnam backlash, and I don't expect to really affect any sort of massive social change, but I do believe that voting and protesting are some of the least effective ways of enacting political change. However, my one goal was to visibly protest, disrupt the hearing in order to hopefully inspire other veterans who may be on the fence about getting involved, getting active in the movement, in an intersectional anti-war movement, And, it'll take years to normalize that, but, just keep pushing the ball forward. That's basically my one goal by disrupting the meeting. Didn't expect it to change anything. Obviously, it won't. But again, normalizing this, activism within the veteran community is helpful. Mostly because it's harder rhetorically for the powers that be to dismiss.
I personally know so many vets that have been radicalized by their experience in Iraq and Afghanistan. I guess that's good.
Us as terrorist sympathizers when, we've actively engaged Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State and stuff like that. And that's kind of our goal within the anti-war movement, to just be there and make it rhetorically more challenging for, as you said, the elites to dismiss us.
Well, let me ask you about what Republican Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas.
Unfortunately, though, the elites do get to dismiss you because you aren't giving this interview. You're not even giving it on MSNBC. And you're certainly not on CNN. You're not on Fox News. You're not on NBC News or ABC News. Nobody's publishing you in the New York Times or the Washington Post, and it's a goddamn shame.
Said when asked Pete Hegseth about your protest.
We've got a big audience here. Many of them seem to be patriotic supporters of you, Mr. Hegseth. Some of them seem to be liberal critics of you. I would note that it's only the liberal critics that have disrupted this hearing.
Liberal critics?
During the Biden administration, I want to give you a chance to respond to what they said about you. I think the first one accused you of being a Christian Zionist. I'm not really sure why that is a bad thing. I'm a Christian. I'm a Zionist. Zionism is that the Jewish people deserve a homeland in the ancient Holy Land where they've lived since the dawn of history. Do you consider yourself a Zionist?
Senator, I'm a Christian, and I robustly support the state of Israel and its existential defense, and the way America comes alongside them is a great ally.
Thank you. Because another protester, and I think this one was a member of Code Pink, which, by the way, is a Chinese Communist front group. Said that you support.
I mentioned it yesterday when we were watching it, calling Code Pink an organization that was founded by mothers of vets who lost their lives in Iraq and Afghanistan. That is disgusting to call them Chinese communists. Now we know they were literally vets themselves that were protesting. They called them Chinese communists. You disgusting piece of shit. Because those vets that were protesting were patriotic. They actually love their country.
Israel's war in Gaza.
You're just riding the gravy train, motherfucker.
Existential war in Gaza. I assume, like me and President Trump, you support that war as well, don't you?
Senator, I do. I support Israel destroying and killing every last member of Hamas.
That was Pete Hegseth being questioned by Arkansas Republican Senator Cotton. Greg Stoker, your response.
Well, it's just a completely unviable operational goal to defeat Hamas. They've created a whole new acronym, Wounded Child, No Surviving Family. Blinken himself, I think you played the clip earlier, that Hamas is obviously bloodied and shook, but they've replenished their ranks and they're going to keep fighting.
You're just radicalizing new people.
Operations during the unfortunately named global war on terror is that bombing campaigns and general counterinsurgency operations, especially the way Israel's running it, are completely ineffective. So hopefully there's a ceasefire soon, but Hamas is not going to be defeated unless they literally kill everyone inside Gaza. And that's something he should have learned doing counterinsurgency operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. But I don't think it's clear he didn't learn anything from our 20 years of engagement in that theater.
Clear.
Let me
learned all the wrong lessons.
Josephine Gilbo about Pete Hegseth's views of women. He wrote in his 2024 book that women are meant to be life givers and shouldn't serve in combat roles.
Broodmares.
Dads push us to take risks. Moms put the training wheels on our bikes. We need moms, but not in the military, especially not in combat units. Your response?
Well, Amy,
she could beat the fuck out of Pete Hegseth.
Was selected to be the first female intelligence officer inside of an infantry battalion. And so I am familiar with what it looks like to integrate with combat MOSs and infantry. So I can assure you that this narrative is just something that doesn't actually exist among the ranks. If I went back and spoke directly with anyone that I served with inside of that infantry battalion, not one of them would say that I wasn't a good member of the team. I did my job as an intelligence analyst, and I did it very well. And I was very much respected by all of the males that were infantry officers and infantry enlisted. So it's just a narrative that they're using. And I can assure you that things like what Pete says and Tom Cotton is not how the Christian conservative community feels. As someone who grew up in the Republican Christian conservative community, they do not represent how we feel. And Tom Cotton is a corrupt politician who is bought and paid for by corporations and AIPAC, and he does not actually represent the American people, and even his own constituents in Arkansas understand that.
During Tuesday's hearing, Maine Independent Senator Angus King asked Hegseth about the Geneva Conventions.
Are we going to abide by the Geneva Convention and the prohibitions on torture, or are we not? Is it going to depend on the circumstances?
As I've stated multiple times, the Geneva Conventions are what we base ours. But what an American first national security policy is not going to do is hand its prerogatives over to international bodies that make decisions about how our men and women make decisions on the battlefield.
Josephine Gilbo, your response.
You know,
no laws.
Interesting is the fact of how blind they think the American people and the world are. Everything that they have done in order to support Israel in this unwavering way and unconditional way while they're committing genocide has jeopardized our national security. You know, we heard earlier from former State Departments that speak directly to how far they've jeopardized our national security by violating international laws, violating the Geneva Conventions. We're literally watching a huge shift in the global economy and alliances happening from NATO over to BRICS, because the reality is the global South has realized that we are hypocrites and we no longer are fit to be a global power because we refuse to follow international laws and the Geneva Convention. And ultimately, the biggest victim of all of this are the children. And we cannot normalize as American citizens the bombing indiscriminately of children the way that we have for decades now in the Middle East.
I also wanted to ask you about the accusations that Pete Hegseth had sexually assaulted and raped a woman in 2017. It's been reported in many places that she has a non-disclosure agreement now and was paid off by Hegseth. During his confirmation hearing, he dismissed the allegations as, quote, coordinated smear campaign. Meanwhile, the New York Times reports Hegseth's own mother once accused him of mistreating women in 2018. Penelope Hegseth wrote him an email that read in part, on behalf of all the women, and I know it's many, you've abused in some way, I say get some help and take an honest look at yourself. The email was sent a year after that woman accused Hegseth of raping her at the California hotel at the Republican.
Now, she's recanted, but...
What concerns do you have about Pete Hegseth in relation to this issue, and also this issue of public drunkenness? Those accusing him, from people working in his veterans organization, where he was accused of financial mismanagement, to those who work at Fox, who accused him of being drunk as he went on air and saying they smelt alcohol in his breath. Again, he repeatedly said anonymous smears.
Yeah, I think it's shocking to me and disturbing how we are selecting this type of quality to be in these leadership positions for our country. and just how shameful and embarrassing it is as American citizens that there isn't anyone else out there that is more qualified, number one, even if you don't, compile all these factors you just named about his behavior. If you just look directly at his resume, this individual is not qualified to be in this position. And then you compound it with these other factors that you're talking about, and you're talking about normalizing someone that has these types of behaviors to be in leadership roles. What sort of precedence is that setting, just, in a world view in our country, that you can be in positions of power?
I mean, that's all out the window at this point.
Of doing these types of things to women.
Finally, Greg Stoker, you served in the military for years. You were, 4 times deployed to Afghanistan. What changed your mind? I mean, your criticism was not only of Hegseth, both of you. You're talking about Israel's war on Gaza, which took place during the Biden administration, which continually has armed Israel throughout.
Yeah, I think what first started to get me to question the war machine, we could say, is I was in tactical operations centers actively watching. I was actually plugged into the synchronization process of kinetic drone strikes, and there just really wasn't a huge standard of proof for everybody that was being dropped. And then I think what caused me to speak out early on was about a few days after October 7th, when the bombing campaign really picked up in retaliation for October 7th. We were watching about 1,000-pound GBUs, guided bomb units, dropped on Gaza, and I think I was watching General Petraeus say, yes, we did that. We did that in Baghdad, and we did that in Afghanistan. First of all, we did not. One of my best friends was in a fire control center in Baghdad during that time. You could not drop those ordnance. And I think watching these paid-for pundits on legacy media straight up lie to the American people is kind of what got me started down this path. I had been following the Palestine issue for a long time, but I was not a public figure then. So, warfare is kind of like law, in that you need to be really careful about what precedents are set. And now we have set for modern warfare going forward things like the state policy of directly targeting and bombing hospitals. And because of what's happened, the world is a less safe place, and this country is a less safe place. So
Greg
I encourage
Stoker.
every veteran. Yeah,
And
thank you.
Josephine Gilbo, I want to thank you both for being with us. 2 military veterans arrested by Capitol Police after protesting during Pete Hegseth's confirmation hearing on Tuesday morning. They were working alongside Code Pink, which was also protesting. Gilbo's a former military intelligence analyst, now a fellow at the Eisenhower Media Network. And Greg Stoker is a former U.S. Army Ranger with a background in special operations and human intelligence collection, now anti-war activist analyst with Mint Press News. He served 4 combat deployments in Afghanistan. Democracy Now!
Fantastic. I'm glad we got to meet them. Let's do a couple more things here. You saw Rocky in the chat earlier. Rocky, the Trump contingency is totally already celebrating, just days before the inauguration, Trump getting his own commemorative inaugural Diet Coke bottle. Look how happy this motherfucker is. There's a picture of Sparkles when she's like 6 years old, and she's got a Mr. T doll in her hand. And that's the happiest I've ever seen Sparkles. In any picture, anytime I've been with her holding that Mr. T doll. She is so freaking happy. That's what this reminds me of. The look on his face. My lord, good evening. Who else snuck in here on me? DJ Dub, Minty. I don't remember if I told you good evening. Rocky. Ducky, Alien. Clinically. Glad to see all of you. If I told you good evening twice, my apologies. Better safe than sorry. I've got no memory. Somebody else who is celebrating Trump's victory, but not by drinking Coke. His name is Hulk Hogan, and he got booed out of the building last week when he made an appearance on WWE Raw.
WWE Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan joins us now after he chugs the beer.
Ironic, good evening.
Man, I cannot believe you pulled me out of the party, brother. We got Hogan's Hangout, first night of karaoke. We're drinking real American beer made by real Americans. We got a real American president, brother, and we're already celebrating the inauguration even before it happens because we know we're getting our country back, brother.
He's such a grifter.
Pre-party inauguration happening right now. Hulk Hogan, if you're interested, just go find him. He's pretty easy to
Flash,
find.
good evening.
So tell me, your sense of the country, you've seen a lot, and you've seen a lot of change in the course of your career. Where are we right now as a nation?
Well, I've seen the hills and the valleys, brother. I was around back in the day when we had Robert Kennedy doing our thing. But the way it is now, we hit an all-time low. And all of a sudden, when Trump won the election, all of a sudden it was like this dark cloud got lifted off America. Everybody was happy. And all that all the whiners and criers that were out there, they were the ones that created the problem in the first place. America's back on track. We are definitely going to be greater than we've ever been. This is the greatest time to be alive, brother.
Sometimes you need to hit rock bottom.
Oh, and I would assume Jesse Ventura, who just recently made his return to WWE on Saturday night's main event and got a raucous ovation because Jesse Ventura is fucking cool. Jesse Ventura tried, for those that don't know, Jesse Ventura tried to start a union with the wrestlers back in the 80s, was stabbed in the back by Hulk Hogan, who went to Vince McMahon in order to make sure it didn't happen. And Ventura has hated Hogan ever since.
Bottom, to pick yourself back up and to reach new heights. Did the country hit rock bottom? Is that what we're experiencing right now?
Well, it was really close, brother. I was really, really worried because can you imagine if we had 8 years of Kamala Harris? Party over, outdone. See you later, brother. But we didn't get that, man. The people stood up.
Now, come on, Hulk. You think we just fell out of a coconut tree?
Make America great again, man. This is the time to be alive.
Are you going to be at the inaugural balls doing your thing?
Well, you know, there's a little birdie that says I might just be there pulling a few shenanigans, brother.
So you and Carrie Underwood, you got Snoop Dogg, Kid Rock.
Wait, Snoop Dogg is going?
For Donald Trump, this is it.
Brother, we've got main event karaoke going on right here. You should have thrown Carrie Underwood my way. I'm giving away championship belts, plenty of money tonight, and a bunch of real American beer, bro.
I mean, Carrie Underwood is his type.
Wherever Hulk is. And hopefully the next 4 years is a big party for America because we deserve a lot to celebrate. Any last words from Hulkamania?
All I got to say, brother, is I got my Trump pump back on, and I'm going to be riding dirty all the way to that inauguration. I cannot wait for him to be.
Does he know what riding dirty means?
It's a new country, and we're going to make America great again because we got a real American president, brother.
All
That's
right.
for show.
Get your Trump pump on, everybody. Great to see you.
Does he mean he's drinking and driving? Because that's not what riding dirty means. It means holding drugs on you while you're driving. But, you know, maybe he's got some steroids. Flash, this morning I didn't stick with it very long. We did like a couple of hours. Pam Bondi is probably a cunt. I've said that word a lot here lately. I really don't want to say it, but I don't think there's any other way you could describe her. She's probably one of the most well-spoken, intelligent MAGAs I've ever seen. Well, that's why Carrie Underwood and his daughter kind of look alike. That's why I said that. That was Hogan and Trump both have the same taste in women, as in women that look like their daughters. In a real creepy kind of way. We get day 2 of the Pam Bondi confirmation hearing tomorrow. We watched some of the Marco Rubio confirmation hearing. It was mainly just everybody, Democrats. And so in the Marco Rubio confirmation hearing, the Democrats weren't contentious with him. Marco Rubio is a senator. They're all friends. They're all in the same club. So like the Democrats were almost glazing him as much as the Republicans. And it was basically everybody. It was a giant orgy, it was members of the Senate running a train on China. That's what it was. It was Democrats, Republicans, and Marco Rubio. China, 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 China. The chat will back me up on that. That's pretty much what the Marco Rubio confirmation hearing was. The Pam Bondi hearing was far more contentious. And the main point that they were trying to get her on was mainly Kash Patel, and they were using Kash Patel's comments about having a enemies list, about going after people politically. They also questioned Bondi about if she was given an illegal order or to prosecute somebody that hadn't done anything wrong by the Trump administration, if she would follow through. She sidestepped it. She sidestepped any questions about who won the 2020 election. But she did it skillfully because she herself was a prosecutor and a trial lawyer for many years. So that catches you. Oh, here we go.
The Oval Office. Before I begin, let me speak to important news from earlier today. After 8 months of nonstop negotiation, my administration, a ceasefire and a hostage deal has been reached by Israel and Hamas, the elements of which I laid out in great detail in May of this year. This plan was developed and negotiated by my team and will be largely implemented by the incoming administration. That's why I told my team to keep the incoming administration fully informed.
Come on, man.
That's how it should be, working together as Americans. This will be my final address to you from the American people, from the Oval Office, from this desk as president. And I've been thinking a lot about who we are.
Final address. I don't want to hear from you anymore.
We should be. Long ago in New York,
if you open your goddamn mouth, I ain't going to cover it.
Installed beam after beam, day after day. He was joined by steel workers, stonemasons, engineers. They built not just a single structure, but a beacon of freedom. The very idea of America was so big, we felt the entire world needed to see. The Statue of Liberty, a gift from France after our Civil War. Like the very idea of America, it was built not by one person, but by many people, from every background and from around the world. Like America, the Statue of Liberty is not standing still. Her foot literally steps forward atop a broken chain of human bondage. She's on the...
No, that's figurative. That's not literal.
Literally moves. She was built to sway back and forth.
No, it's figurative. It's not literal.
Stormy weather. To stand the test of time because storms are always coming. She sways a few inches, but she never falls into the current below. An engineering marvel. The Statue of Liberty is also an enduring symbol of the soul of our nation. A soul shaped by forces that bring us together and by forces that pull us apart. And yet through good times and tough times, we've withstood it all. A nation of pioneers and explorers, of dreamers and doers, of ancestors native to this land, of ancestors who came by force, a nation of immigrants who came to build a better life, a nation holding the torch of the most powerful idea ever in the history of the world. That all of us are created equal. That all of us deserve to be treated with dignity, justice, and fairness. That democracy must defend and be defined and be imposed, moved in every way possible. Our rights, our freedoms, our dreams. But we know the idea of America, our institution, our people, our values that uphold it are constantly being tested. Ongoing debates about power and the exercise of power. But whether we lead by the example of our power or the power of our example. Whether we show the courage to stand up to the abuse of power or we yield to it. After 50 years at the center of all of this, I know that believing in the idea of America means respecting the institutions that govern a free society. The presidency, the Congress, the courts, a free and independent press. Institutions that are rooted, they just might not reflect the timeless words, but they echo the words of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Rooted in the timeless words of the Constitution, we the people. Our system of separation of powers, checks and balances. It may not be perfect, but it's maintained our democracy for nearly 250 years. Longer than any other nation.
Light one up, tip one back in honor of Joe Biden.
Bold experiment. In the past 4 years, our democracy has held strong. And every day I've kept my commitment to be president for all Americans through one of the toughest periods in our nation's history. I've had a great partner in Vice President Kamala Harris. It's been the honor of my life to see the resilience of essential workers getting us through a once-in-a-century pandemic. The heroism of service members and first responders keeping us safe.
This has been a wild 4 years.
Advocates standing up for our rights and our freedoms instead of losing their jobs to an economic crisis that we inherited. Millions of Americans now have the dignity of work. Millions of entrepreneurs and companies creating new businesses and industries, hiring American workers, using American products. Together, we've launched a new era of American possibilities. One of the greatest modernizations of infrastructure in our entire history.
He's right about that.
Clean water, affordable high-speed internet.
If the last year and a half didn't happen, you would have been a good president.
Conductor, smaller than the tip of my little finger. And now is bringing those chip factories and those jobs back to America where they belong, creating thousands of jobs. Finally, giving Medicare the power to negotiate lower prescription drug prices for millions of seniors. And finally, doing something to protect our children and our families by passing the most significant gun safety law in 30 years and bringing violent crime to a 50-year low. Meeting our sacred obligation to over...
Yeah, brother, if you hadn't fucked up the last year and a half.
Exposed to toxic materials and to their families, providing medical care.
I'm thankful for the lowering of drug prices.
For their families. You know...
The capping that they could have done forever ago.
To feel the full impact of all we've done together.
I'm thankful for the investment in manufacturing and chips.
They'll grow and they'll bloom for decades to come. At home, we've created nearly 17 million.
Yeah, but it's scraps. It's scraps.
Administration, a single term. More people have health care than ever before. And overseas, we've strengthened...
Oh, speaking of which, this is the last day to sign up for Obamacare.
And we pulled ahead of our competition with China.
If you need to do that,
I'm so proud
get on it.
We've accomplished together for the American people. And I wish the incoming administration success because I want America to succeed. That's why I've upheld my duty to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition of power, to ensure we lead by the power of our example. I have no doubt that America is in a position to continue to succeed. My farewell address tonight, I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern. This is a dangerous that's a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. and the dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked.
I know this. You're one of the key people in making that happen over the last 50 years.
Power and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead. We see the consequences all across America, and we've seen it before, more than a century ago. But the American people stood up to the robber barons back then and busted the trusts. They didn't punish the wealthy. Just made the wealthy play by the rules everybody else had to. Workers want rights to earn their fair share. You know, they were dealt into the deal, and it helped put us on a path to building the largest middle class, the most prosperous century any nation in the world has ever seen. And we've got to do that again. In the last 4 years, that is exactly what we've done. People should be able to make as much as they can, but play by the same rules, pay their fair share of taxes. So much is at stake. Right now, the existential threat of climate change has never been clearer. Just look across the country, from California to North Carolina. That's why I signed the most significant climate and clean energy law ever in the history of the world, and the rest of the world is trying to model it now. It's working, creating jobs and industries of the future. Now, we've proven we don't have to choose between protecting the environment and growing the economy. We're doing both. The powerful forces want to wield their unchecked influence to eliminate the steps we've taken to tackle the climate crisis, to serve their own interest for power and profit.
You really want to get pissed off.
We must not be bullied.
There's some data that got released that showed Bernie Sanders polling against Trump in 2016.
Pushing forward and push faster. There's no time to waste. It's also clear that American leadership in technology is an unparalleled source of innovation that can transform lives. We see the same dangers of the concentration of technology, power, and wealth. You know, his farewell address, President Eisenhower,
as someone said that shared the data out,
the military-industrial
he wouldn't have just beat Trump.
He warned us then.
It would have been a win that would have fundamentally changed the country.
With the disastrous rise.
And that's why they had to stop him at all costs.
Quote, 6 decades later, I'm equally concerned about the potential rise of a tech-industrial complex that could pose real dangers for our country as well. Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation, enabling the abuse of power. The free press is crumbling. Editors are disappearing. Social media is giving up on fact-checking. The truth is smothered by lies told for power and for profit. We must hold the social platforms accountable to protect our children, our families, and our very democracy.
Iowa was one of the states that Bernie would have solidly won. That would have surprised you, or maybe not.
Intelligence is the most consequential technology of our time, perhaps of all time. Nothing offers more profound possibilities and risk for our economy and our security, our society, for humanity. Artificial intelligence even has the potential to help us answer my call to end cancer as we know it. But unless safeguards are in place, AI could spawn new threats to our rights, our way of life, to our privacy.
Already has, brother, already has.
We must make sure AI is safe and trustworthy and good for all humankind. In the age of AI, it's more important than ever that the people must govern. And as the land of liberty, America, not China, must lead the world in the development of AI. You know, in the years ahead, it's going to be up to the president, the presidency, the Congress, the courts, the free press, and the American people to confront these powerful forces. We must reform the tax code, not by giving the biggest tax cuts to billionaires, but by making them begin to pay their fair share. We need to get dark money. That's that hidden funding behind too many campaigns contributions. We need to get it out of our politics. We need to enact an 18-year time limit, time and term, for the strongest ethics and the strongest ethics reforms for our Supreme Court. We need
what?
Members of Congress from trading stock while they're in the Congress. We need to amend the Constitution to make clear that no president is immune from crimes that he or she commits while in office.
Ha!
The president's power is not limited. It's not absolute, and it shouldn't be. And in a democracy, there's another danger to the concentration of power and wealth. It erodes a sense of unity and common purpose. It causes distrust and division. Participating in our democracy becomes exhausting and even disillusioning. And people don't feel like they have a fair shot. We have to stay engaged in the process. I know it's frustrating. A fair shot is what makes America America. Everyone's entitled to a fair shot. Not a guarantee, but just a fair shot. An even playing field. Going as far as your hard work and talent can take you. We can never lose that essential truth, remain who we are. I've always believed, and I've told other world leaders, America can be defined by one word: possibilities. Only in America do we believe anything is possible. Like a kid with a stutter from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, in Claremont, Delaware, sitting behind this desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. That's the magic of America. It's all around us. Upstairs in the residence of the White House, I've walked by a painting of the Statue of Liberty I don't know how many times. In the painting, there's several workers climbing on the outstretched arm of the statue that holds the torch. It reminds me every day I pass it of the story and soul of our nation and the power of the American people. There's a story of a veteran. This is a veteran, a son of an immigrant, whose job was to climb that torch and polish the amber panes so rays of light could reach out as far as possible. He was known as the keeper of the flame. He once said of the Statue of Liberty, quote, speaks a silent universal language, one of hope that anyone who seeks and speaks freedom can understand. Yes, we sway back and forth to withstand the fury of the storm, to stand the test of time. A constant struggle, a short distance between peril and possibility. But what I believe is the America of our dreams is always closer than we think. It's up to us to make our dreams come true. Let me close.
Welcome in, Raiders.
To so many people. To the members of my administration, as well as
You're live. This is Biden's farewell address.
And around the world, thank you for stepping up to serve. To our service members and your families, it's been the highest honor of my life to lead you as Commander-in-Chief. And of course to Kamala and our incredible partner,
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
She and Doug have become like family. To me, family's everything. My deepest appreciation to our amazing First Lady who's with me in the Oval today. For our entire family.
The chat is getting really bored with Biden.
Of my life and the lives of my love. My eternal thanks to you, the American people. After 50 years of public service, I give you my word. I still believe in the idea for which this nation stands. A nation where the strength of our institutions
I was hoping your word was going to be we'd never fucking see you again.
matter and must endure. Now it's your turn to stand guard. May you all be the keeper of the flame. May you keep the faith. I love America. You love it too. God bless you all. And may God protect our troops. Thank you for this great honor.
There you have it. Clear. The final address by Joe Biden in the White House. Welcome in, Raiders. Thank you, Globus. If you don't know who I am, I'm JustinFREAKIN. We find out what that news be doing Sunday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. If you're not familiar with what we do over here, allow me to hit you with this neat little song. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN.
All we're establishing is this guy's wicked, sick aesthetic.
Not high enough for this shit.
I guess I gotta thank Matt Walsh for introducing me to JustinFREAKIN.
Hey there, y'all. We're about to get stupid, locked into what that news be doing. Fu Manchu and a slick bandana, colder than ice, smoother than Santana. Audio, video, chat and calls. Right-wing nut jobs haunt the halls. What you wanna watch? Hey, what you think? And there's only one choice. It's JustinFREAKIN.
The guy's, he's a formidable voice in the call.
Light one up and tip one back. It's a right to be high. Let's grab a snack. It's fucking news, quit panic, attack, and play your cards right and get a titty slap. Jump in Discords, have some fun. The man will talk to everyone. Get high and try to debate. When shit pops off, chat thinks it's great. What do you think you're doing? Join the troll. Whatever discourse is brewing, he gives it that southern drawl.
So let's go ahead and bring in Justin. Hey, Justin, how's it going, brother?
First of all, I want to say you're poser South. I'm in Alabama. I'm the real South.
Okay, all right. So why don't you tell us what it takes to be a man?
Well, I don't know. I'm in Alabama and I'll fuck a man in a dress. Why won't you fuck a man in a dress? Are you that insecure that you won't fuck a man in a dress?
That's fantastic. So you're okay with that, right?
Yeah. Why wouldn't I?
Right-wingers are morons.
Light one it and hit one back. One more click before we hit the set an alert when that shit goes live. Social fucking support and hit subscribe. Light one up and take a hit. He does no harm, but it takes no shit. He's the last one standing when the ship is sinking. Let's take another rip for JustinFREAKIN.
Light one up, tip one back. I'm JustinFREAKIN.
Not high enough for this shit.
That was the media winch from Echoplex Media, and you heard the lady. Light one up, tip one back. Good evening. Welcome to the Troll Patrol Live. It's a freaking Wednesday. We already did quite a bit of news before we went to the Biden farewell address. We covered the ceasefire deal and how apparently this is just Trump getting a symbolic win. Israel's going to wait about 6 months and then just go right back to what they are doing now. It's according to reporting from Dropsite News that we listened to earlier. We also heard from the veterans that interrupted Pete Hegseth's confirmation hearing yesterday. We were here for it. Gonna be here with you again tomorrow morning at probably around 8:30, 9 o'clock. The confirmation hearings are going to be going on around 9:30. Tomorrow we've got, I think Burgum is tomorrow. They moved him from Tuesday. Yes, in the AM. I've been waking up early in the AM to do these stupid confirmation hearings. We've got day 2 of Pam Bondi tomorrow. And we're going to try to get some C-SPAN calls in because I love C-SPAN calls. They're always batshit crazy. Now, let's find out what the rest of that news be doing. Most of the country, if you're not in Southern California, get ready to be fucking cold. Winter weather set to return. It never really left here. It's goddamn in the teens right now. But a polar vortex set to dip down and will affect Trump's inauguration that I'll be here with you for on Monday afternoon.
Ooh, looks like another postcard kind of morning out there. While we do have a few clouds from here and there, especially down over towards Cedar Creek Reservoir. Look at that. You get the reflection.
Please in Texas.
Because the winds are calm. It is a beautiful morning. If you like it on the colder side, you can even see a little bit of the moon out there. And 29 degrees in Stephenville. This morning is a little different. I mean, it's relatively calm when I say calm. We have a front that just went through, and the winds are out of the north at about 5 miles per hour. Not that it's a lot, but it is a north wind. And as you look this morning, we're in the 40s down around.
In today's edition of What the Fuck is Going On in Fort Worth,
in Towers 41.
They're freezing their tits off.
It's been clear overnight, just that the radar is on, and there's a lot of ground clutter. But the radar is picking up some pink stuff up to the north. It's not real. But I mean, it's real at 10,000 feet, and then it falls and evaporates on the way down. So we may see
it's not real
there this morning, but there's some drier air that's coming in for this afternoon. So like yesterday, the clouds in the morning should be out of here by this afternoon.
Textilian. That's awesome.
Interesting, because this is going to be a theme that you hear a lot more.
I'm glad you're going to be looking cute with your coat as well.
Of us have more moisture closer to a jet stream that's unusually far to the south for this time of the year. And eventually next week might be interesting for folks that aren't used to getting winter weather, maybe less here and more for somebody down there. We'll talk about that.
Down where?
But the Pacific moisture, just some high clouds around here this morning. I don't know if we hit 60. 60 sounds a little lofty, but I could see us mid and upper 50s today. And once this little bit of rain,
this is what I wanted to show you,
moves out, most of the nation is again in really good shape on this Wednesday, and will be even warmer on Thursday. The Arctic air, which is up there, starting to retreat. It's very mild in the Pacific Northwest, and of all places, like British Columbia, Alberta, I mean, you expect to see cold air here. It's not. It's coming, but it's not right now. And this is the last day of the Santa Ana winds for them. The pattern ahead brings all the Arctic air down. It comes over the North Pole and then heads south. The actual center of the polar vortex, which everybody loves to focus on, that's not coming to Texas. It did in 2021. You remember that year. But this
year, yeah, we do.
What it's going to do is funnel cold air down from the North Pole. And of course, the North Pole isn't like your vacation spot in the middle of January, so it is going to keep us well below average next week. And again, we could have some flakes in that cold air, but especially in South Texas of all places. But for us, the next 2 days very quiet. We're in the 50s.
Yeah, I just want to talk about the storm coming through Texas. The polar vortex doesn't usually dip down that far. What causes a polar vortex, you might ask? This is the thing that, like, it never happened when I was a kid. Bagheera, it absolutely is global warming. That's what causes the polar vortex. Didn't happen when we were kids, did it? Now, the jet stream at the Arctic, unstable. That's what causes it to fall down. I'm getting ready to explain that to you.
New tonight, you may
play a video that explains it to you.
But what exactly is it?
Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandages explains what's behind the phenomenon.
Have you ever wondered why some winters seem to hit us with intense, bone-chilling cold while others are more bearable? Well, a lot of it has to do with something called the polar vortex. The polar vortex is this massive area of really cold air high up in the atmosphere. Normally it hangs out way above the North Pole, spinning like a giant icy carousel. This spinning motion is super important because it's part of what keeps that freezing air contained up north. But here's where things get interesting. Our friend the polar vortex, well, doesn't work alone. It's closely tied to the jet stream, a fast-moving river of air that flows high above the Earth. When the jet stream is strong, it acts like a sturdy fence. This happens because of big pressure differences between warmer and colder air, which keep the jet stream moving fast and straight. That fence does a great job of keeping the polar vortex and all that cold air right where it belongs, in the Arctic. But when the jet stream weakens, it's a whole different story. A weakened jet stream gets wobbly like a loose rope in the wind. And when that happens, it can't hold back the polar vortex as well. The cold air starts spilling south, reaching places it normally wouldn't. That's when we get those frigid Arctic blasts. Those days when it feels like your eyelashes might freeze just from stepping outside. So the next time you're bundled up during a deep freeze, you can thank or blame the polar vortex and its dance with the jet stream. Science, right? Always keeping us on our toes, or in this case, extra warm socks. Stay cozy out there. I'm Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandy.
The jet stream is weakened by the warmer oceans. And that's why it didn't occur when we were children, and it's a thing that happens now. Did you ever hear a weatherman talking about the polar vortex? No, because it stayed in the tight circle up at the top. I just don't understand why do people that I don't know shit about weather and the climate, don't know anything about meteorology. Why the fuck would I have an opinion on something, not listen to somebody that actually knows something about it? Bagheera, you don't know jack about it. So why would you have an opinion on it? You know, it's one of those things that boggles my mind. Right-wingers thrive on ignorance. It's like that dude I was having an argument with that was like an MMA reporter. And I'm like, dude, I wouldn't come in and try to tell you about MMA because I don't know shit about it. But you try to come in and tell me about politics, and that's the weirdest thing to me. It's okay to say that, like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about and listen to an expert. There are people, these nerdy motherfuckers that go to school and learn about these things. And no, I'm not talking about the crank that you hear on a fucking podcast that confirms your biases. I'm talking about people that actually have to publish their shit in journals where they have other people scrutinize it. Those are the people you need to listen to. Some crank trying to sell a book that has doctor behind his name goes on Joe Rogan. He's probably not very reputable because he's trying to fucking scare you to sell his goddamn book. I just want you people, Bagheera, you specifically, I like you, Bagheera. I don't want you to be a fucking moron. I want to help you out. I want to help you not fall for fucking grifters. And also, because the country would be a lot better off if you wouldn't fall for fucking grifters. Yes, I'm talking about guys driven by money. Like, you know how you voted for Trump? And then he put a bunch of billionaires in his cabinet? And Elon Musk is calling all the shots and shit? Like, we live in an oligarchy. Thanks a lot, Bagheera. Appreciate it, man. It's going to be great, I assure you. Apparently the Santa Ana winds are going to be dying down, but LA faces another night of high winds.
In Southern California, people are bracing for another round of dangerous Santa Ana winds as firefighters are struggling really to contain two of the largest fires burning in that region. As CBS News reports, 150,000 people all across Los Angeles County have now been evacuated or told that they need to leave.
Dramatic footage shows firefighters conducting water drops in Los Angeles County, trying to stop new sparks from spreading.
2,200 hours working structure defense.
Well, he's taking a piss.
Fire crews are standing by with wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour expected in some areas.
We're going to create a buffer around every house. We're clearing trees, we can brush anything around those structures.
Since igniting a week ago, the Palisades and Eaton fires have displaced tens of thousands of residents and destroyed more than 12,000 structures, including Daisy Suarez's home.
I have to send my kids to be away from us, you know, and as a parent, it's not what you want to do.
Helena Delu lost her home in Altadena.
We saw that our home was on fire and there was nothing we could do. But, you know, we have our lives, so, I mean, you know, that's the most important.
Residents here in Southern California are facing a daunting recovery process as the search for answers continues.
We all lost a lot of memories, a lot of good times. We don't know what we're going to do, where we're going to go.
The mayor of Los Angeles has faced criticism for traveling to Ghana on January 4th after the first weather warning was issued. She returned 24 hours after the Palisades fire began. By then, at least 1,000 structures were already destroyed and more than 70,000 people evacuated.
I mean, you know, everything could be better. There is no question about that.
California's governor says the fires could become the costliest.
That's an understatement.
In U.S. history. Charlie DeMar, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Here in our region, Seattle Humane just took in 39 dogs and 18 cats.
Oh, sweet babies.
Shelters that are experiencing, as you might imagine, overcrowding in communities that were hit hard by those wildfires. The animals were flown in from Burbank Airport to Seattle's Boeing Field yesterday. Seattle Humane started allowing people to adopt their new furry friends from California. And there was actually a line out the door. Locally, Spokanimal is telling us they also expect to get some animals from California. We'll keep you updated as they have more information.
Bagheera, what the fuck do you know about firefighting and how the officials handled it? You're just letting right-wing media tell you what to think, and it's fucking annoying. It really is, man. Like, you just listen to fucking right-wing propaganda and spout it off. They told you that the Democrats are doing a bad job. They've mishandled it. Governor Newsom needs to be fucking impeached. Like, you're a little lemming, man. Why? What proof do you have that they failed the people of California? What fucking Fox and Friends told you? Seriously, motherfucker. This is why I call right-wingers morons. You're the dumbest fucks walking the planet, and you're so certain of yourselves. It's insane. Even Rush Limbaugh called it out before he fucking died.
As a conservative, it's getting harder and harder to not look like a kook.
I mean, yes, there is criticism about their mismanagement of forests, and they have tried to change the way that they manage their forest floors by doing controlled burns and shit. But in the last 6 months, they've faced incredible drought conditions, so they haven't been able to do any controlled burns. So, like, all these idiot-ass right-wingers are on Twitter like, oh, well, they should have been doing controlled burns. Like, yeah. And yeah, they did mismanage it in the early 2000s. We know that now, and they know that. But it's hard to course correct in the last 6 fucking years. Bagheera, are you listening to anything anybody's saying? Everybody in the chat's making excellent points, too. And you just tried to link us to what? What dumb fuck right-wing fucking citation did you use? It's not making excuses, you dipshit. We're just telling you what the conditions are. And you've let some podcaster or some dude on YouTube tell you what to think, and it's annoying. Yeah, Mox, there's tons of mismanagement. Oh, he's not. It's one specific person. It's some dude you saw on fucking YouTube or TikTok. Stop letting grifters tell you what to think. And yes, Mox is correct. It's the effects of capitalism. Anti-war machine. A lot of you have snuck in. Mox, Avalon, Textillion. Several of the people from the raid. I didn't get to actually tell you good evening individually. Links. Prometheus. I'm sorry I'm picking on him. Soup, you handsome devil. Nyan Guyot. Welcome in, my friend. Yes, I need to get a little more high for this. If I missed you, I'm sorry. I love you all. But, I had some dipshit right-winger on Twitter tell me that, there's been one-party rule for 40 years in California. Boy, was he fucking embarrassed when I pointed out that in the last 40 years, they've had a Republican governor a majority of the time. DEI in the fire department. The fuck are you talking about? You are just repeating what you've heard right-wingers say, you dumb motherfucker. Holy shit. Breaking news in the last couple of hours as we were coming on. Mike Johnson removing a caucus chair from his position removes Mike Turner as the House Intelligence Chair. The Ohio Republican has been an outspoken advocate for Ukraine funding and other hawkish national security stances. Speaker Mike Johnson removed Representative Mike Turner as chair of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence on Wednesday, saying he wanted to give the panel a fresh start in a new Congress and with a new president. But conservative hardliners in the House and other Republicans loyal to the president-elect Donald Trump had been pressing Johnson for months to remove the Ohio Republican. And Johnson cited Trump as a reason for the ouster when the speaker met with Turner on Wednesday night, according to a person familiar with the conversation who was granted anonymity to describe it. Turner told CBS News' Margaret Brenner that Johnson had cited concerns from Mar-a-Lago. First named to lead committee Republicans in 2022 by then-leader Kevin McCarthy, Turner has made enemies on the MAGA right over his handling of key intelligence matters, including a major internal battle over renewing certain surveillance authorities last year. He has also been an outspoken advocate for Ukraine funding and other hawkish national security stances. Commenting to reporters, Johnson deflected blame away from the returning president, saying this is not a President Trump decision, this is a House decision. He also said the decision was no slight to Turner, who had performed valiantly in a difficult time under difficult circumstances. Still, the decision blindsided many members who remain loyal to Turner, including some current intelligence panel members. Unlike most House panels, the selection of the Intel chairman is solely at the Speaker's discretion. Turner's support for Ukraine aid and his handling of the surveillance bill, renewing so-called Section 702 powers, sparked unrest among ultra-conservatives who argued he tried to strong-arm them into backing the legislation by raising generic warnings of national security concerns. Connecticut Representative Jim Hines, the top Democrat on the intelligence panel, spoke to reporters shortly after the news broke. He had maintained a cordial relationship with Turner, who had pledged to undertake a bipartisan reset on the panel when ascending to the top Republican spot in 2022. His predecessor, Representative Devin Nunes, was a fierce Trump loyalist who now works for Trump, who had continually clashed with then-chair Adam Schiff. Remember when the Democrats were all upset about kids in cages? Records show that the Biden administration plans to give Trump a head start on deportations. Documents obtained by the American Civil Liberties Union show that the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement is considering proposals to expand its immigration detention capacity in at least 8 states. The proposals going back to September show that the Biden... 2 months before the election. The proposals going back to September show that the Biden administration was preparing for its own expanded detention of immigrants while Democrats attacked President-elect Trump for his mass deportation plan. The plans could give Trump a head start to launch the largest mass deportation effort in U.S. history once he takes office, since detention is the most costly and labor-intensive piece of deportation. The ACLU said on Wednesday that documents obtained through an open records request show proposals sought expansion of detention capacity in Michigan, California, Kansas, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, Texas, and Washington State. They revealed that private prison corporations and other companies that provide services to build temporary facilities, monitor compliance, and staff facilities submitted proposals for expanded immigration detention in response to ICE's contract requests. Remember when Don Jr. went to Greenland the other day? Apparently, Fox News decided to make their own trek to Greenland. Things didn't go how they expected them.
And the hot topic here has been President-elect Trump's comments about buying this Danish territory. Take a listen.
A lot about Trump and also their opinion about Trump.
I hate it. And basically, I don't know what he's aiming at.
For me personally, I want to stick with Danish government.
Well, most of the people that we talked with said that they did not support Trump's comments and found them offensive. And the hot topic here has been President-elect Trump's comments about buying this Danish territory. Take a listen.
A lot about Trump.
Beautiful.
And also their opinion about Trump.
I hate it. And basically, I don't know what he's aiming at.
For me personally, I want to stick with Danish government.
Well,
not surprised at all. Because Trump is a fucking moron. Speaking of fucking morons, do you guys want Mr. Beast to buy TikTok?
Just got out of a meeting with a bunch of billionaires. TikTok, we mean business. This is my lawyer right here. We have an offer ready for you. We want to buy the platform. America deserves TikTok. Give me a seat at the table. Let me save this platform, TikTok. Just got out of a meeting with a bunch of billionaires. TikTok, we mean business. This is my lawyer right here. We have an offer ready for you. We want to buy the platform. America deserves TikTok. Give me a seat at the table. Let me save this platform, TikTok.
Oh yeah, fuck him. I was all excited. People started talking about Mr. Beast. And I'm like, oh shit, the dude that does history lessons on YouTube? That's awesome. I'm glad he's finally getting some recognition because I watch him all the time. No, that's Mr. Beat. Much, much smaller than Mr. Beast. I was completely wrong about that. Yeah, let's Luigi this dude. Yeah, Mr. Beat It. We have the, this is the House Oversight Committee. It doesn't say who the person testifying is, but I think he is the head of the Social Security Administration under Biden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
This is Representative Clay Higgins. He sounds like he's still asleep.
Having other committee obligations and arriving at Oversight Committee behind my colleagues that I get to listen to all the testimony.
He's just from Louisiana, though.
This is...
Oh, my God. What is this? Oh, it's the whole music.
For 1 hour, 28 minutes, 25 seconds. Phone number 800-772-1213. It's a number for...
We're missing his farewell address. We just did his farewell address. Did he come back out? Did he forget that he did it and he came back out and did another one?
Social Security.
He's on hold with the Social Security Administration.
This is what our elders have to listen to. These are our elders, my man.
Yes, sir.
The reason they're calling, when I have a question for you, I'll ask it. That's the way this works.
Yeah, Mox.
The reason our elders call for help.
That was at 8 o'clock.
Is because they need help. Not because they want to listen to elevator music. They want to talk to a human being. The first 5 minutes.
Well, then hire more people.
On hold for an hour and a half, Mr. Chairman, was instructions to get to various websites, which our elders have difficulty doing. I have difficulty doing it.
Yeah, you're probably stupid.
And alone, scared. They don't have like laptops and apps and things. They have a telephone. They want to talk to a human being.
Exactly, my lord.
But wait.
Do they know they're the ones that fund this agency?
Local Social Security office they could go to, right? That's a historical model. No. I give you Exhibit B. This is from your website, or was, before you ran for DNC and retired in November after negotiating this deal that you think ties the hands of the incoming executive. But we're going to defeat that in Article 3. I'll go and get into that in a minute. But from the website, listen to this, America. Pay attention to what's happening to our elders. If you need in-person help, you must first make an appointment. Now you make the appointment on...
Kinda DJW Creole. He's from Texas, or is it Texas or Louisiana? He's from one of those in the Gulf. Louisiana, okay, yeah, he's Creole.
The telephone. You know who answers the phone? Nobody. This is a greatly efficient Social Security Administration. All of our offices, we struggle and work so hard to care for our elders, and the number one complaint is that they can't get any answers or even anybody on the phone.
Then fund the fucking agency.
So I want you to know, Governor O'Malley, that I completely support your run for DNC chair. You have a certain...
Was this Mike O'Malley?
Elitist superiority that perfectly reflects your party. And I completely support your run. I hope you get it. Earlier in your testimony, you stated that the contract you signed that presumes to commit the executive branch and the federal government through 2029 to a union agreement. In fact, they hail it in CNN as Social Security Union secures telework deal. And it said the deal will secure telework for SSA employees through 2029. That's a union guy to CNN.
Seriously, he's the cause of the problem.
The incoming administration. I happen to agree with you, Governor, but that's because the founders were wise enough to divide the powers of our government. And we're going to defeat the contract you signed in Article 3. Watch us do it. But
wait a minute. So he's upset about the new union contract for workers. Don't you realize that more workers, paying workers more, that's how you solve the problem of the people not answering the God damn it.
In the terms of the contract, it states, in that language in Article 41, Section 3, strikes the words that the Commissioner will determine the number of scheduled telework days, if any, eligible positions, and percentages of employees permitted to telework, and replaces it with the Commissioner will adhere.
You're right, clinically. I do know this.
Telework days, eligible positions.
It's maddening, though.
Employees permitted to work telework.
It's maddening because then Bagheera sees this shit. It's like, oh my God, Clay Higgins, he bring blah, blah, blah. And like he falls for like how stupid this is. And, oh my God. And it's frustrating to me.
As of the date of this agreement until October 25th, 2029. But by some measure, you say, yeah, that doesn't tie the hands of the incoming administration. That was your testimony about an hour and a half ago before I got on hold with Social Security. That never answered. So,
you hung up with him. You were probably next in line.
Man to man, brother, I respect you. You know, you're standing your ground. You're here today under fire. You know it. And I appreciate that. So, man to man, you and I could probably get along pretty good.
He wants to dock with him.
Mischaracterization of our position, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Ranking Member.
Do a little frauding.
To say that we have that Republican conservatives and fiscal hawks like me have a problem with the federal employees. We have a problem with federal employees failing to perform. And we associate the failure to perform with realities.
That you're not funding them.
You want to talk to us?
And then you want to
get an appointment. You want to get an appointment, make a phone call, we don't answer the phone.
You're the reason they're understaffed.
That failure to perform is the issue, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Ranking Member. That's our issue with the federal government employees. And we.
Oh, yeah. Why do we not have Jim Justice on every committee? I can't wait till we start seeing speeches from Jim Justice. It's going to be grand. Biden administration trying to do some things before they leave power. I also saw Trump taking credit for this as well. The FDA banning red dye, which one, number 39 or whatever it is.
Daily Health, a health alert
42.
before you make that next trip to the grocery store. The Food and Drug Administration announced today that it is banning red dye number 3. That's the synthetic additive that gives certain products their bright cherry red color. It's commonly found in candies, frozen desserts, frosting, and dietary supplements. Joining us now, NBC News medical contributor Dr. John Torres. So, Dr.
Dietary supplements?
Actually comes more than 3 decades after the dye was first found to cause cancer in lab rats. So why is it just being banned now?
And the reason it's being banned now is they finally have caught up to that research back from 1980. In 1980, it was found
Thanks,
to cause
DJ.
cancer in rats.
Thank you, DJ Dub. 42 minus 39 does indeed equal 3. It was red dye number 3.
But then you take my
Bad with numbers.
chance of winning, and then add 66 and 2/3%. I got 141 and 2/3 chance of winning.
Seriously, it's been banned in the EU since like 2000 or 95 or something like that, hasn't it?
That's at high doses, and they ended up in 1990 banning it from cosmetics because of that study. But in 92, they tried to ban it in food. That did not go through, and so now we fast forward to 2025, and they're finally doing this. Today, the FDA director for human health, for human foods, actually said that they are looking at this, and they are saying, you know, because it can cause an issue with human health and animal health, or possibly, they want to make sure that they get it banned. And so that's what they're doing right now. Unfortunately, the ban doesn't go through until 2027, and so you're still going to have to keep an eye on your foods to make sure you stay safe, Clay.
To that end, in the interim, what do you recommend families do, given that it will remain on shelves until at least 2027?
And it's in some of our favorite foods. Like you mentioned, it's in a variety of candies, a variety of other things. I love candy corn, and it turns out it's in candy corn as well. So I'll be avoiding that for the next couple of years. But one of the things you want to do is be a label reader. Look for these things, FD&C red number 3, or FD&C red 3, or simply red 3, which has to be on.
I don't want to have to read labels. Can people smarter than me just make sure they're not poisoning me? That's what I want. That's what the government is supposed to do. Put people that are smarter than me in a place to where fucking companies can't poison me for profit. Is that too fucking much to ask? Apparently.
On the label on the back. So look at that. If you see that on there, then go ahead and avoid that food, especially for children, because one of the things we're looking at is, you know, could it possibly cause cancer?
That's woke now.
Link with hyperactivity in children causing that as well. And so, again, the FDA is saying finally it is time to ban this. They're giving them 2 years in order to be able to get it out of their products. And so by 2027 January, it should be gone.
Great tip. You are.
I like candy corn. Why do people have a problem with candy corn? I don't like Almond Joys, but I don't like denigrate people that like Almond Joys. But people that hate candy corn are like, ooh, you're a horrible person for liking candy corn. Like, why? Why? I mean, I don't eat much of anything that's processed, but I'll get some candy corn once a year, twice a year. I cook most of my shit from scratch. I buy, like, you know, broccoli and ears of corn and chicken and cook it. Is it like cilantro or something and it tastes different to other people? Because, like, how does it taste like shit? I don't get it. I don't get it. Only eating raw beans, no processed foods. I mean, I eat some processed foods. Very rarely, though. I don't eat a lot of frozen shit. Like, I get upset when they bring me like big packages that like sometimes shoppers for Instacart, they'll be like, oh, this package of 15 pork chops is on sale, so let me it's a better deal than the 4 pork chops he requested. And then I'm like, God damn it, I'm only one person. What am I gonna do with it? I don't like to freeze the other 10 pork chops. It's insane. It is weird to have right-wingers be like, Trump's anti-war. The Republicans are the party of anti-war, after they have been the most war-hawkish motherfuckers my entire life. It's weird that Republicans fought Michelle Obama for trying to make school lunches healthy, and now they're all like, RFK is going to make everybody healthy again. And it's like, they come to the right conclusion about pharmaceuticals. Oh my God, the profit motive in pharmaceuticals. They want to keep you sick just to make sure they can sell you drugs, and they'll poison you. And I'm like, cool. Let's nationalize the pharmaceutical industry. That way there's no profit motive anymore. They're like, it's communism. That's horrible. We've got to give it to the capitalists. And I'm like, what? It's the weirdest fucking thing. They'll say they're against big business. They're apparently the party of the people and the workers, and they're against big business. But now they have a cabinet of fucking billionaires. And the woman that actually had big business shitting their pants was in the Biden administration. Her name is Lena Khan. She was on with Bloomberg.
Joining us now for an important conversation on this and a lot more, including her 4 years at the helm of the agency, is FTC Chair Lena Khan. Wonderful to see you in person. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
An important action today.
We are losing a fucking hero.
We're calling this partisanship in terms of its timing. Why is it happening now?
Well, look, the FTC has been focused these last few years in making sure that Americans can enjoy the right to repair. I've met with farmers numerous times over the last few years, and one of the biggest pain points they share is that they're no longer able to easily repair their own equipment or even be able to
John Deere
take tractors and combines to independent repair shops. And instead, they've been steered into Deere's network of authorized dealers, which practically means they're paying more. And especially for farmers that live in rural areas, it means they sometimes have to drive hours to even get to the nearest dealer. Practically, we all know that farming is a very time-sensitive business, and so we've even had farmers that have lost their crop, faced ruinous delays, and so we think there's real harm here. There's a law violation, and we want to make sure farmers can enjoy the right to repair.
Well, and you and 2 other commissioners did vote to bring this claim forward, yet the 2 Republican commissioners did not, including the man who will be FTC chair just days from now. Is it your expectation that Andrew...
Oh my God, Bagheera! How this is a simple fucking issue. John Deere wants to make it to where you can't repair your own tractor. That you have to take it to an authorized dealer and pay more money. Simple. This is such a simple issue. How could you not be on the side of farmers that want to be able to repair their own tractor? If you buy a tractor, you should be able to do whatever you want. I don't think car companies should be able to do that, you dipshit. That's what this lawsuit is about. We want to make sure that you have the right to repair your shit. Like, seriously, this is the... How are you on the side of big business and not the worker? This is as clear as day that I can make it.
Ferguson is actually going to see this through, or was it just brought today to make a point, knowing that that may not happen under new leadership under the FTC?
Well, look, I can't speak to what any new leadership will do, but this did have the support of the majority of the commission. This follows a multi-year investigation, and I always think it's important that, we act with urgency and swiftly, and if there is real harm, we shouldn't let politics get in the way of delivering real relief to farmers.
You've got a lot of things in the works right now that you're going to be leaving behind, including court actions against Facebook, I believe, in the spring, Amazon next year. Will we expect those to continue?
Well, look, we are set to go to trial against Facebook this spring, set to go to trial against Amazon in fall of 2026. Yeah. Those actions are only going to trial because the FTC was victorious along the way, defeating motions to dismiss. And so we are on strong grounds, and I fully expect that we'll be able to see these trials go forward. Of course, whenever there's a new administration, defendants may want to see if they can come in and get a cheap settlement, but I hope we wouldn't see that here.
Well, and from people we've talked to who've just observed the FTC from the outside, the suggestion...
The biggest thing this applies to is your phone. It's one of the reasons why I only use Androids. I am not going to be subject to fucking Apple's bullshit. I'm going to repair my shit. I'm going to use open source software. Fuck you, Apple.
Has been
but fuck Google.
Leadership and Andrew Ferguson's leadership when it comes to big tech specifically may not be that different. Do you see that as an area in which you've been most aligned in your time serving together on the commission?
Well, look, there's no doubt that there is strong bipartisan concern about the economic power of large technology.
If I can.
And how that can undermine fair competition, undermine people's free speech rights. And so we'll, of course, have to see what the next administration does, but it's certainly been an area of strong bipartisan concern during my tenure.
Social media.
Michael, I'd say more than a decade.
Of possibility here, and we're considering the potential for a sale or a divestment of TikTok right now. Even Elon Musk has been floated as a potential buyer. He's got a pretty large presence on social media. Are you concerned?
Yes, I fixed my razor. This has been years. I fixed my razor. Somehow one of the cords in the fucking thing, I had to take the face of it off and then solder the cord together and then wrap it with some electrical tape. Motherfucker, I can repair circuit boards and shit. So why wouldn't I repair my phone?
Concerned about consolidation as a result of divestment of TikTok if it happens?
Well, look, as you
know, I've only got a shitty soldering iron right now.
Bill,
yes, right.
That we just heard an argument at the Supreme Court around. So, this is a very live issue. Of course, we have seen these antitrust lawsuits filed in part because we've seen a lot of illegal monopolization in these markets. And so, of course, we wouldn't just want to forget or ignore all the lessons of those harms and repeat those mistakes. But we'll have to see what happens.
Well, and considering that
the bloatware on this phone, oh my God, you can't take it off.
As an academic, looking at Amazon specifically, from an academic landscape, when you look at large tech companies like this, can you see a world in which it wouldn't be anti-competitive for a big tech company to absorb a company that has 170 million users in the U.S. and a valuation our analysts suggest could be north of $40 billion without it raising antitrust concerns?
Well, look, all of these questions and investigations are highly fact-specific, so you'd want to look at all sides. But at a high level, if you have a firm that is dominant in one market that's going out and buying a rival or another company in that same market, by ordinary standards, that often raises at least initial concerns.
You've talked about how extreme a concentration of economic power can have great political...
Yes!
You could correct me if I'm not getting the words perfectly right there. You've talked...
Yes, and let's hear you say this on Bloomberg News.
About this as potentially the beginning of another Gilded Age. Elon reportedly taking an office in the White House complex in the old executive office building, even as one of the most prolific government contractors out there. Is this the kind of example you're talking about, and should that be in the purview of the FTC?
Well, look, the FTC's mandate is squarely looking at commerce in our economic realm, and so we're very focused on the specific facts. Do we see monopolization? Do we see mergers that are illegal, rather than wading into kind of big picture political questions? But it's certainly true that for the lawmakers who passed the antitrust laws over 100 years ago, one of the animating concerns was the way in which concentrated economic power can be translated into political power.
Are we not?
Yep.
Well, look, certainly we've seen, time and time again, including, over the last few years, efforts by dominant companies to use political sway.
People are kind of expecting, Chair Khan, it seems, what could be a tidal wave of M&A. Do you think it's actually that simple?
MMA?
Well, look, we certainly heard over the last few years directly from deal makers, directly from antitrust lawyers who acknowledge
mergers, blah blah blah, and acquisitions. What's the second M for? M and A. Okay, cool. Okay.
that several years ago, they wouldn't even think about antitrust risk when initially putting together some of these deals. But under the Biden administration, they had to think very early about whether a certain merger would pose legal risk. And as a law enforcer, of course, that type of deterrence is good for the public. It leads to more efficient outcomes. And so I would hope that we wouldn't see a backsliding, return to an environment where flagrantly illegal
back shots, not backsliding.
And deal makers are thinking, well, maybe we can get this one through even though it violates the law. So we'll have to wait and see. We have had several merger lawsuits filed with unanimous support at the commission. And so we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Well, it may not be flagrantly illegal, but we keep hearing about the pipeline, the backlog, animal spirits. How do you envision the next 100 days looking in that realm?
Well, look, we'll have to see, what actually ends up being proposed. One interesting fact that we've seen in some of the data
animal spirits
is in which firms, especially large technology firms, have known that they can't just go out and buy.
I don't know, animal spirits?
From deal makers, directly from antitrust lawyers, is good for return. We have had several merger lawsuits filed with unanimous support at the commission. And so we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Well, it may not be flagrantly illegal, but we keep hearing about the pipeline, the backlog, animal spirits. How do you envision?
The fuck is he talking about? Animal spirit, a backlog of animal spirits.
The backlog, animal spirits. How do you envision the next 100 days looking in that realm?
Well, look, we'll have to see, what actually ends up being proposed. One interesting fact that
is it some financial term we don't understand?
Instances in which firms, especially large technology firms, have known that they can't just go out and buy their rivals without.
Animal spirits is a term used to describe the human emotions and impulses that influence economic decisions. Okay, it's some kind of financial speak. The term was coined by British economist John Maynard Keynes in 1936 in the General Theory of Employment, Interest, and Money. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the clarity on that, because to a layman, it just seemed fucking batshit.
They can't just go out and buy their rivals. We've actually seen them have to invest more in innovation, and actually try to organically expand and improve their business rather than just go out and snuff competition.
Learning is fun.
So I think we want to, see markets where firms are fairly competing and being incentivized to really compete on the merits rather than just buy out their rivals.
And if we were to look at this kind of on an industry by industry basis, obviously we've talked about agriculture already in this conversation, about technology, but is there an industry in which you see the potential for potentially aggressive consolidation that you maybe not during your tenure had a chance to address that gives you concern?
I feel like I have, my lord, but it's been a lot of years. That's the one with I see his face in front of me. From the famous Hollywood family. He's one of the, not a bald one. He's got like a famous dad and a famous son and shit. He's one of the Sheens, yeah. Charlie Sheen, no. Michael Douglas. Thank you. One of those people. And then I really liked Wolf of Wall Street. That was a good movie. But like all I really remember of it is Leonardo DiCaprio on Quaaludes.
Going forward.
Well, look, when we put out, a request for comment from the public about our...
You guys are just throwing out names now.
Where have there been waves of consolidation that you're worried about? We've really heard it across the board. I mean, healthcare came up over and over again.
Oh, God, yes.
Healthcare workers, including from patients and patient advocates. We've heard a lot of concern about consolidation in media. We've personally had to file several lawsuits against big hospital mergers that we know result in higher costs and worse quality. So, my approach was to focus on the markets that can have a huge impact on people's day-to-day lives, and healthcare really soared to the top of the list. While I was at the helm, the FTC took a particularly assertive approach to pharma mergers, making sure that we were not just looking strictly at...
Charlie Douglas, isn't that the dude that does, race science?
What is the overlap today, but understanding more from a business perspective, could this deal undermine even potential competition and make things worse for Americans over the long term?
We talk about technology as this big squishy thing, but specifically when it comes to AI, we're seeing technology
squishy
so quickly that we're having trouble keeping up with it. If you were staying in this job, or to the extent that you'll be in this space in your next role, how concerned are you about the way AI is actually changing the rules?
Well, the FTC has been very focused on understanding across the stack where are areas where there may be bottlenecks or choke points that some of the incumbents might be able to exploit in ways that undermine competition. And so we've been going layer by layer, looking at the chips, looking at the cloud, looking at some of the models. We have an active inquiry examining the active investments and partnerships between some of the hyperscalers, big cloud computing providers, and some of the newer AI firms, to try to understand, is this undermining competition? I think historically we've seen that these moments of technological inflection points are ones where enforcers have to be extraordinarily vigilant, because there's huge opportunity here for real competition, real innovation, real growth. But those are also the moments where the incumbent monopolists can panic because they can imagine themselves becoming overtaken or disintermediated. And so those are just some of the concerns we'll have to keep in mind.
Yeah, glad she's throwing down the gauntlet on her way out. Amazing woman. I would have loved to have seen her continue on in that post as FTC chair. But alas, that's not going to happen. All right, we're going to move from politics and we're going to move into the realm of crime. I'm going to hit the content warning. Not that many gruesome stories tonight, but the first couple you definitely need a content warning for. On today's edition of Why You Should Hate the Police, a 15-year-old in Ohio was shot by cops.
Akron police shot a 15-year-old boy twice in the back. That is according to
in the back.
Report just released by the Summit County Medical Examiner's Office. It was released earlier today. Jasmine Tucker died after the police-involved shooting this past Thanksgiving. On the night he was shot, Akron police said 2 officers were nearby. They heard gunshots and they went to investigate. Investigator Sarah Goldenberg has been going through.
No, I believe he's dead.
This autopsy report.
Yeah, autopsy.
Live in the newsroom with what she found. Sarah.
We learned Jasmine Tucker had 3 gunshot wounds total, according to the Summit County Medical Examiner. Dr. Lisa Kohler says it was the gunshot wounds to his torso that killed him. Jasmine Tucker's manner of death was ruled a homicide, shot by another. The autopsy found
Are we going to arrest the cops?
Twice in the torso and once in the right arm. One of the bullets that hit his back pierced his heart and several other organs. But here's what the autopsy did not answer. Dr. Lisa Kohler says she does not know if all of the bullets came from the same gun, which shot came first, or what position Tucker was in when he was shot. After the shooting, Akron police said a gun was found in the teenager's jacket pocket, and 2 shell casings recovered near the scene had been positively matched through the National Integrated Ballistic Information Network, or NIBIN, to that same gun. Dr.
I don't give a shit.
Tucker's hands were not tested for gunshot residue because the medical examiner's office discontinued those tests in 2016.
What?
There are many factors that contribute to false negative or false positive results.
Gunshot residue testing can detect specific particles related to the discharge of a firearm, but the results of such testing are not conclusive as to whether an individual did in fact fire a weapon. The particles are very fine and easily dislodged from the skin by acts as simple as putting one's hands into one's pockets or even by sweating.
She says they found no other significant traumatic injuries or natural medical diseases. And toxicology tests showed Tucker had marijuana in his system.
Oh, wow.
Death was ruled homicide, shot by another. Our ruling of homicide is a medical conclusion. It is not a legal conclusion. It means death at the hands of another.
And the medical examiner also found that even with a faster medical response, the outcome would have been the same. We're going to go into more detail on this next at 4. Both Akron police officers involved in Tucker's shooting death are now on paid administrative leave.
Oh, yeah.
Department procedure. Live in the newsroom, Sarah Goldenberg, 19 News.
If you shoot a kid, that should be an automatic firing. You shot a 15-year-old. You're off the force. God. I feel like we really didn't we didn't really cover that story the way we should have, and have been outraged at the fact that the cop shot a fucking 15-year-old. And we didn't even get what was the kid supposedly doing? What crime was he supposedly committing? Do you have a preference as to which cat you want, T-minus? There's a Maynard like right here. You can see his eye right there. He's got a little scratching pad back there. He was just up on my lap. I think the other two were over on the bed. Smokey got up, so Smokey volunteered. I went up to the radio station one time. I was like 18, 19, something like that. I was a teenager. And they had a cop that lived next door to the station. He's a really cool guy. Like, it's still a cab to him. But like he was nothing but nice to me. I don't remember his name now. But he had told me about how like I just missed him burning a big old pile of pot. He's like, "I want to let you come over with a blanket and put it over." I was like, "Oh, I would have totally done it." But why you gotta burn it for? Come the fuck on. This happened in South Carolina. This next story happened in South Carolina. A man was shot because another man apparently was convinced he was a pedo.
The Berkeley County Sheriff's Office is investigating a shooting that stemmed from an incident the day before. According to deputies, on Sunday, they were called to a home on Dawsey Drive in Bono in reference to a sexual assault of a juvenile. Investigators say the suspect in that assault, 22-year-old Brandon Clark, was able to get away from the scene before officers could arrive. But they did issue a warrant for his arrest. The very next day, police were called to a shooting on West Main Street in Monk's Corner, and that's where police found a man, now identified as Brandon Clark, suffering from a gunshot wound. He was taken to the hospital for treatment. The man accused of shooting him, now known as Thomas Coburn, was still on the scene and has been charged with attempted murder and possession of a firearm during the commission of a violent crime. The Berkeley County Sheriff's Office still investigating these two incidents.
I was actually looking for a gift.
I mean, if the dude was indeed a pedophile. Socialist Aunt, good evening. Well, this is the normal show. I've been on for the confirmation hearings. We'll be here for the inauguration next week. Justin been working overtime. I'm testing out the idea of actually doing like a troll patrol today where we cover like the news that's happening during the day. Like instead of preparing like I do for this show, we're just kind of winging it and watching live streams. We'll go from a committee hearing to a blah, blah, blah. Maybe. But also, I do run my own business. I do have people that want me to make audio, video products for them and don't have a lot of time. I also hate sunlight. I hate getting up of a morning, but I'm going to do it for you guys. Tomorrow, here for yet another set of confirmation hearings. Tomorrow is day 2 of Pam Bondi. Lee Zeldin is going to have his confirmation hearing tomorrow. I think he was the big one we were waiting for. Day 2 of Pam Bondi. Lee Zeldin for EPA. Those two confirmation hearings happening tomorrow. I will be here for you. This next one's heartbreaking. They're locking up a grandma for apparently leaving a kid in a hot car.
The grandmother on trial for the hot car death of her 7-month-old granddaughter has been found guilty.
The defendant, Tracy Howard Nix, is guilty of leaving a child in a motor vehicle in excess of 15 minutes, causing great bodily harm.
But the jury found her not guilty of the more serious charge of aggravated manslaughter.
When this verdict came out, you saw the tears begin to roll. You saw the look of shock on this mother of the child's face, like she couldn't believe that the jury had come back with a split verdict.
I'm remanding you into custody, Ms. Nix.
Tracy Nix was placed in cuffs and hauled off to jail. Nix was on trial for the death of her granddaughter Yuri, who was left in a car in 90-degree heat. She's the second grandchild to die while in the grandmother's care. Less than a year earlier, her 18-month-old grandson Ezra drowned in a pond on her property.
Whoa! Yep.
To jail. Nix was on trial for the death of her granddaughter Yuri, who was left in a car in 90-degree heat. She's the second grandchild to die while in the grandmother's care. Less than a year earlier, her 18-month-old grandson Ezra drowned in a pond on her property. Both children's parents, Kayla and Drew Schock, held hands as the verdict was read. Prosecutors played for the jury police body cam, in which you can hear Granny sobbing moments after baby Yuri was found in the hot car.
Does he have any idea maybe how long it's been? It's been up to 2 hours. I forgot I had her.
Oh!
I took her out to lunch with some friends. And when I got back, I don't know even what I had on my mind, but I didn't get her on the car.
She told officers she didn't want to be present when her daughter learned that her second child had died in her care.
I don't want to be here when she comes. I can't do this.
The grandma placed index cards with inspirational Bible verses on the defense table in front of her. One reads, "The Lord is with me. I will not be afraid." After the trial, grieving mom Kayla had this to say, "There is no win for me."
One of the last witnesses was a medical expert who took the stand testifying that on the day the child was left in the car, the grandmother was on a number of medications that affected her cognitive abilities.
I don't think we ever got that information flash, whether it was the paternal or maternal. Fucking wow. Well, I assume they just thought it was an accident, you know? And like... It was her daughter's kid. Wow. Wow. Oh, I'm going to try to find... I didn't realize I didn't have video for this one. I'm going to try to find a local news report on it. Yeah, I'm only seeing the fucking New York Post. I don't want to... Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is gonna be a wild one, guys. If I can ever get this video to play. A teacher in the Bronx has been fucking... There's not much to the video. I don't think we're gonna get a lot of details. Fucking fuck. It's really fighting with me. A teacher in the Bronx has been accused of inappropriate acts with cleaning supplies.
Arrested a special education teacher for exposing himself in front of the students. It happened yesterday morning inside PS 723, which serves students with autism in grades kindergarten through 4th grade. Investigators charged 44-year-old Dana Barsdorf with 2 counts of attempted lewdness. The Department of Education issued a statement saying, quote, "This alleged behavior is completely unacceptable. This employee has been reassigned pending an investigation."
Reassigned? So no other details. Seriously, this has been the worst episode of the Troll Patrol ever. I covered Uvalde live. Tonight's been worse than Uvalde. What the fuck is attempted lewdness? You either dropped your pants or you didn't. There's no attempted. Fucking fuck. I've outdone myself now. You think it's been bad so far? Holy shit, let me hit you with this one. A woman had some snow in her driveway and decided to hire two teenage boys to come shovel it. She paid them in beer. So far, fine and dandy. What happened next?
Police were called here to Wind Gap Avenue last night around 9 o'clock for a burglary in progress. When they got to the apartment building, they found two boys who looked to be around 12 and 13, highly intoxicated. The pair told officers they were walking along Wind Gap Avenue asking people if they needed their driveways shoveled. According to court documents, this woman, Rochelle Stewart, agreed to pay the boys $5 to shovel her front walkway. While the boys were shoveling, Stewart allegedly invited them inside for hot chocolate, then offered them alcohol. Police said one drink led to Stewart giving the boys multiple drinks consisting of vodka and wine until they were drunk. One of the boys told police when he was drunk, Stewart sat down next to him, put her leg over his, and touched him inappropriately. The boys immediately left, but had to go back after realizing one of them forgot their coat. That's when police said they showed up. Stewart denied letting the boys in, but police found the victim's coat on her couch and a half-gallon of vodka, half empty. One of the boys also took a video of Stewart sitting with the other, rubbing his shoulder and arm.
I've got no comment. What am I going to say to that? Well, apparently she's the one that called the cops saying that they were trying to rob her. Ain't nothing wrong with giving some kids some beer to shovel your driveway. It's everything else that went on there. They stole my vodka. Wow. I don't think I can top that one. I'll try. Yeah, they weren't even teens. 12 and 13, those are just babies. Yeah, she shouldn't have been giving them alcohol either. You're right, my lord. It would have been different if they were 17, 18. Yeah, I probably took my first drink of alcohol at 6th grade, but that was like sneaking out with a buddy and tasting it in the backyard, realizing I don't fucking like liquor. Yeah, 17, 18 is one thing. 12, 13, yeah, that's a little much. Significantly underage. I don't think I can top it. But apparently a undercover cop went into a massage parlor.
An employee at a massage parlor in Florence is behind bars after allegedly offering sexual favors to an undercover officer for money. 51-year-old Ping Hao Wang.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't do that to an undercover cop. You got to ask him first. You're not a cop, are you? They legally have to tell you. That's not true, by the way. They do not legally have to tell you. That is complete fucking bullshit. Cops can lie to you all over the fucking place. Oh my God. Her name is Ping Hua Wang.
An employee at a massage.
Why, yes, Miss Wang. I would love for you to play with my Wang.
You live in sexual anarchy?
Not Hawk to a Wang, no.
Massage parlor in Florence is behind bars after allegedly offering sexual favors to an undercover officer for money. 51-year-old Ping Hao Wang was arrested
Ping Hao.
from the VIP massage parlor. This is off of Second Loop Road. Police say they put together an undercover operation after receiving complaints from customers. Wang is accused of undercover the agent.
He gets fucking cat got his tongue. Or, what am I trying to say? Tadpole, good evening. What customers were complaining? She just wanted to give you a happy ending.
How Wang was arrested from the VIP massage parlor. This is off of Second.
Tongue-tied.
Police say they put together an undercover operation after receiving complaints from customers. Wang is accused of undercover the agent for prostitution and is charged with 1 count of prostitution. She was released on bond this afternoon.
It's bullshit. Prostitution shouldn't be a real charge. Why were customers complaining? There's no fucking victim in this case. Oh, apparently Biden saying oligarchy really fucking has the headlines. It's apparently a huge breaking story. I didn't even see anything wrong with what he said. Like, it was so mundane and unoffensive what he said. We were even like saying we hated him. I do remember pointing out, like, I was like, oh, he's right about that. I complained about a dry auntie. You're right on. She's probably encouraged or forced to. Yeah, I mocked him for being the senator from MBNA, telling us that, oligarchs were in charge. It's like people say, if you exchange money for sex, it's prostitution, you go to jail. If you film it, it's porn and it's fine. What the fuck? Soup, you might be right. That is a reason a customer would complain. Because I feel like if you go to a massage parlor, there's like a wink and a nod that's going on, right? This is expected behavior. It moved. Okay, shooting a kid in the back won't get you fired, it'll get you paid leave. But, if you flash your badge after a traffic stop, that'll get you fired. Explain this one to me.
A sergeant in the Denver Sheriff's Department has been fired after what happened during a traffic stop. She's accused of flashing her badge for preferential treatment.
However, the former sergeant is disputing that, claiming her driver's license.
Oh! It's a woman. That's why. Knew there had to be something to it. Might be a black woman, too.
A sergeant in the Denver Sheriff's Department has been fired after what happened during a traffic stop. She's accused of flashing her badge for preferential treatment.
However, the former sergeant is disputing that, claiming her driver's license was in her badge holder and she pulled that out. Investigative reporter Jeremy Hohola now has his hands on the body camera footage from that night. Jeremy?
Yeah, Tom, this sergeant was fired last month, but it wasn't for actually flashing her badge. It was for being deceptive about flashing her badge.
What?
The penalty for being deceptive as an officer in Denver usually carries the consequence of termination.
90 miles an hour.
This is a traffic stop in April. Police body camera footage shows a Denver police officer catching a driver speeding along I-25. As the officer walks up to the car, inside is Sergeant Bridget Andrews with the Denver Sheriff's Department. She pulls out a leather case. Before anything is said, in her left hand...
Hold on, okay. We're zooming in. I was getting ready to move my camera so you could see. We'll go back to the full shot. We'll get rid of my camera there. You can see her pull her. It's her wallet with her ID.
Before anything is said, in her left hand, she is raising up a badge holder showing her Sheriff's Department ID. Her badge is underneath the leather flap. In her right hand, obscured by the flashlight, is her driver's license.
What's your license, please?
The officer runs her license and comes.
Wow, how did I know that? How did I call that? How? Not only is she a woman, I bet she's a black woman. How did Justin know that? Huh, that's wild. I must have psychic powers or something.
Police body camera footage shows a Denver police officer catching a driver speeding along I-25. As the officer walks up to the car, inside is Sergeant Bridget Andrews.
Critical troll theory.
She pulls out a leather case. Before anything is said, in her left hand, she is raising up a badge holder showing her Sheriff's Department ID.
Hey, Justin,
her badge is underneath the leather
trolling?
flap. In her right hand, obscured by the flashlight, is her driver's license.
What's your license, please?
The officer runs her license and comes back, and then the two disagree over how fast she was going. The officer comes back with the radar gun.
Okay, so you're at 90 miles an hour. I come up and I stop you and you immediately throw your badge up into my face. I don't need that. Okay?
I keep my badge thing in my wallet.
Your ID was in your wallet, you pulled it out, and you had your ID in one hand and the badge in the other.
During the internal affairs investigation, records show Sergeant Andrews insisted she pulled out her driver's license, claiming it is always in my badge, and didn't intentionally flash her sheriff's ID. However, the city felt she was deceptive about that claim while citing the video evidence and imposed termination. Sergeant Andrews was fired this past December, about 2 weeks before her 9-year anniversary with the Sheriff's Department. Now get this, discipline records indicate if there was no act of deception, the sergeant here would have been suspended for about 40 days for flashing her sheriff's ID and badge holder. The city tells us she is appealing her termination. Tom, back to you.
The body.
I knew it would be a black woman. She had 2 strikes against her. She's a woman and she's a minority. Therefore, the cops aren't going to bat for her. If he was a white man, you can do just about fucking anything. You shoot a kid in the back and kill him and be placed on paid leave. How many people in the chat think that the moon landing was faked? The Hodge twins are going to try to sell us. I think they got Owen Benjamin on. It was fake and gay. The Hodge twins are going to try to convince us that the moon landing wasn't real.
Yeah. Do it, yeah, bitch. I said it, bitch. You do it better than me.
Yeah. Apparently they're comedians.
I was one of those guys. I used to hear people, we never landed on the moon. We never landed on. I said, man, these people are crazy. Then I went to look at the footage. It's like it's nowhere in hell we went to.
Dude, it's so funny. I'm going the other way where I'm like, okay, what do I know is fake? It's the footage. Yeah, because
Triple cursed. Igloo, good evening.
The footage.
Dude, it's impossible.
Yeah.
Like, I know footage. I don't know radio transmission. I don't know vacuums. I'm like, that's a tilt up, rack focus. No.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a real shot. That's why I had this whole theme where they had to leave an astronaut behind to do the shot.
Yeah.
Because the 3 are leaving and they do that perfect shot. And we named him Tyrone Shoelaces. And it's like we're always like thinking about old Tyrone, and like we're playing Bone Thugs and Harmony songs.
Right.
It's like, you know, he's just still up.
By the way, they did find, I didn't even know this until the other day, they absolutely found weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. They didn't tell anybody because we sold them to them.
up there, man, just waiting to come home.
Right. I saw that. I was like, man, that's how diabolical our government is.
They're American weapons.
Our government that killed our president. Right. But you're gonna believe him?
I mean, I knew he used our weapons to gas the Kurds. Apparently, they absolutely found those weapons. What you would call a weapon of mass destruction. They're like, we can't tell them about this.
It doesn't make any sense.
I know, but now I'm like, okay, because I started getting brash. Like, I'm like, it's fake, so I'll tell you what it really is.
Right.
And I'm like, but I don't really know. Like, what I know is that's fake. The presentation's fake. I can't disprove that anyone's ever been to a moon. It's like saying you've never had a pineapple. Like, how am I supposed to do that?
Right.
But I can show, like, the manipulation. Like that, because that's what I am an expert at. Where I'm like,
maybe if they.
I just don't understand. Like, we have satellites. There's definitely the International Space Station. We have shit out there taking pictures. Why would they lie about going to the moon? Why? Now, conspiracy theorist hat. Apparently, they did indeed hire Stanley Kubrick to shoot some shit because they were afraid that they wouldn't be able to get the video footage back. But supposedly they never used that footage, which is sus. And it was just in case. Yeah, apparently that is a thing that happened. They were worried that they wouldn't have the video footage to send back.
Been on the moon, but if it's based on that footage that I saw, like it's no way in hell.
Right, it's a domino effect. You're like, if you fake the footage, what else do you fake? Now I have to figure everything out myself and milk a cow.
Right.
You know, I'm not making a hat out of alpaca wool.
How'd I end up on their side?
Yourself, and I'm like, it's exhausting sometimes, you know?
You know, when I first, because we all do comedy, right? And I remember the first time I stepped on stage, I was nervous.
Do you?
As hell. And this is in front of my fans.
Yeah.
It's not like I had to go out in front of people I didn't know. How the hell you going to fly all the way to the moon? And then
they got famous on social media. So that's why he's stepping in, because the first time I did comedy, it wasn't in front of my fans. It was a bunch of people that had no fucking idea who I was.
you get outside and you're ready to walk out there, and that fucker's like, one step.
Sorry, Mox.
He's doing this shit. And not to mention, they brought a damn go-kart. Yeah, and then he's driving around out there like it's like not dangerous.
Like
the first time
it was a lunar rover.
Play it safe. Let's not try to do too much. Just get our men on the moon and bring them back. No,
and someone's like,
focus on a go-kart.
Someone's like, yeah, with the go-kart though.
Yeah.
And you're like, no go-kart, Gary. And he's like, well, then how are we supposed to have fun up there? I know. And they're like, oh, we can't go back. We lost the footage. I'm like, you brought like recreational sports.
Right, you're right.
Yeah, and my buddy's dad allegedly like made the go-kart. And so he won't give up that pride.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, dude, there's no way they brought a go-kart. And he's like, well, you know, my grandfather. I'm like, I'm not saying he's a liar.
Right.
But, you know, it was compartmentalized and he wasted his time making a $60 million go-kart.
Yeah.
And that's why you're
that thing looks heavy, too.
I know, it's so pointless.
What's the point of it?
It's like, just look at, and then the dude's playing golf.
Yeah.
You see that story?
Oh, I forgot about that.
No, the official story is he smuggled on a golf club.
Right. Yeah, I remember them playing golf. Yeah.
And I'm telling people, I'm like, you can still take pride. Like, we were the first people to fake the moon landing.
Right.
Like, that is an accomplishment. It crushed. Right. It's like everyone's going crazy with Vietnam and the gold standard. We're like, we pretended we went to the moon. It was genius.
Yeah. You remember what was it, the Challenger? It was 1988?
Yeah,
when they blew up? They blew up.
That's
said
more
proof that they never went to the fucking moon. They said the main reason why it exploded because it was too cold. In Florida. Do y'all know that?
No.
Out of space?
No, that's not what happened.
It's blowing up because it's too cold on Earth.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Buzz Aldrin will punch a motherfucker.
I've been at movie shoots, and they're like, oh, it's 40 degrees, so the camera's acting weird. I'm like, what do you think happens at negative 200 degrees in a vacuum?
Does shit actually work?
Optimal Human, the all-in-one whole health nutrition. Over 90 plus powerful ingredients. American made. Try free now at officialhodgetwins.com. I don't even know what it is or what it's supposed to do, but it's got 90 plus powerful ingredients. It makes you an optimal human.
A camera?
Yeah.
Hey, Have y'all seen those movies when they go out into space?
Boobies.
And happens and like their helmet like explodes and they're like frozen instantly. But this fucker's up there hopping around. Hey, man. Yeah, right. It's all bullshit. Right.
It's so. I had Vivian Kubrick on my podcast, and she was like, "I know my dad didn't fake it because it would have looked better." Swear to God.
Yeah, that's a good.
Like Stanley Kubrick
point.
He faked it, and she's like, "No, he would have done a much better job."
Yeah.
And she believes it happened too, and she's like, "But
have you seen 2001: A Space Odyssey?"
It's the footage that's ridiculously
That
fake.
footage is crazy. It looked like a low budget film.
Dude, if they were like, listen, the footage is fake, we still won, I'd be like, we have trust issues, but thanks for admitting, because that footage is
240. If they came out and said, well, the footage is fake, but we actually went.
Yeah.
It's just we didn't have the technology back then to film everything.
Right.
Yeah. So we had, we was a bit overzealous. We just wanted to, make America great again.
Right. That's when we can start healing, but we have trust issues.
Right.
You're going to have to text me when you're out sometimes.
Well, it's 240,000 miles from.
Well, the Challenger was like some kind of a gasket, and it was specifically like the pressure at whatever. I don't know the scientific shit, but it was like some gasket that hadn't been properly checked or something that wasn't designed for whatever the temp. Like, I don't think it was cold. I think it was that it was hot. Like there was, or maybe it was the wind blowing off of they didn't account for the wind blowing off of the whatever the fuck, and it made it colder or some shit, and the gasket exploded.
From the Earth to the moon?
Yeah.
You have to
Don't listen to me, though. Like, you can go look it up.
California to Virginia. That's 2,000 miles, right? Right. But those fuckers never refueled or anything.
They were talking through a vacuum and a radiation belt in 1969 with no power source with a fucking...
Right.
I'm like, what the fuck? And then people are like, oh, how dare you, Owen Benjamin? You've gone complete unhinged.
Yeah.
So now I don't even care. I'm like, yeah, it's like how...
You mean no power source?
Santa Claus, where it's like some people love Santa Claus.
Right.
You don't need to tell them Santa's bullshit.
I'm assuming all the shit on their suits has to have power from somewhere. So I'm assuming there's a power source. Yeah, I just assumed we were on some radio frequency. They've got some dish beaming it back or some shit from the ship.
They love that.
People smarter than us figured this out.
Like some areas on Earth, the phone call drops. But on the moon, they're
240,000
miles.
miles.
1969.
Instantly, too. 240,000 miles.
Streaming and shit.
Yeah, no, they were like talking, according to their own math, which is, I question all this shit now.
Yeah.
It's like 3 seconds it would take light to go back and forth, but yet there's no...
Yeah, I'm sure there was a delay.
And then they always have some answer. They're like, oh, it's so easily explained with... And I'm like, no, you're just being a dick. I know how...
No, you're just dumb.
Commercials. I've written commercials for corporations.
You know all about manipulation.
Yeah, I know about it. I do. I'm like, I know the sound.
And I mean, like, I'm dumb too. I can't fucking explain to you how it works. I'm in broadcasting. I got no clue how they fucking took a radio signal from the phone up there. But I'm sure somebody smarter than us has explained it. There's probably a YouTube video on it.
Soundtracks, and I know how to do it.
I think it shows just how gullible people are. Yeah.
Hey, man,
I think you are the gullible ones. You are the gullible ones, motherfuckers. And anybody that gets their opinion from you, they are gullible. Because, like, okay, my first thought when I hear that, I've got questions. How did they do the phone? I look it the fuck up and find out. It's not a mystery. What is a mystery is why the fuck it was Betty White out here fat-shaming people. Sally Struthers is saying Betty White was a passive-aggressive woman who fat-shamed her. TV veteran Sally Struthers claims the Golden Girls star Betty White, who died at the age of 99 in 2021, is one of TV's longest and most beloved mainstays, had a nasty side off camera. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Holiday. Yeah, and I'm still Team Betty. All in the Family actress Sally Struthers recounted on the January 13th episode of Let's Talk About That she wasn't the biggest fan of White. I know everybody loves her. They loved her so much, Struthers said, adding they signed petitions to get her to guest host Saturday Night Live. I know all that. However, Struthers, who is jealous that she hasn't hosted Saturday Night Live, said she didn't have such a great experience with her, calling her a very passive-aggressive woman. Struthers might host Saturday Night Live. Watch me pop the next one on oh, God damn it, it's Sally Struthers. At one point, Struthers said they were meant to star together in a TV game show pilot, and she went to White's home to work on the show. While White asked her housekeeper for something to eat, remembered Struthers, then the plate was set in the middle, and it was cookies, I think. So I reached for a cookie, and she said in front of everyone, "Oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you, dear. You don't need a cookie." The moment gave her pause, said Struthers. Totally fat-shamed me in front of the rest of the people in the room, and I thought, gosh, that's not nice. It totally sounds like Betty White. Out of her White's Golden Girls co-stars, Struthers said she had much more positive memories of B. Arthur, who is also a badass. Name this segment Betty Bullies Bitches. I love that it's the most mundane story, and I absolutely believe Betty White did it. She was rude. She was a little rude once. B. Arthur comes in, and she's a force of nature. I agree. I agree with that one. During script run-throughs, Struthers said Arthur would use expletives filthier than a drunken sailor to get laughs out of the producers. Sometimes they'd look up, but you couldn't count on them for a lot of laughs because they were too busy making sure we had the words that were on the page. I've got Maynard is over here trying to bother me. I've got Smokey in my lap. Before starring in the Golden Girls, Arthur started her own eponymous hip hip rhinoceros. I never watched Maude. Arthur was also not a fan of her co-star of the Golden Girls, with White saying, "B was not fond of me," White told Joey Behar in a recent episode of the Joey Behar show. "I don't know what I ever did, I don't know, but she was not that thrilled with me." Still totally down with Betty White. Some of you weren't here earlier when we did this. This was before the Biden speech. So I'll play it again for you guys because I know you'll eat it up.
WWE Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan joins us now after he chugs the beer. How you doing, Hulk?
Man, I cannot believe you pulled me out of the party, brother. We got Hogan's Hangout, first night of karaoke. We're drinking real American beer made by real Americans. We got a real American president, brother, and we're already celebrating the inauguration even before it happens because we know we're getting our country back, brother. Wow.
We got the pre-party inauguration happening right now. Hulk Hogan, if you're interested, just go find him. He's pretty easy to spot. So tell me, your sense of the country, you've seen a lot, and you've seen a lot of change in the course of your career. Where are we right now as a nation?
Well, I've seen the hills and the valleys, brother. I was around back in the day when we had Robert Kennedy doing our thing.
I've seen fire and I've seen rain.
Hit an all-time low, and all of a sudden, when Trump won the election, all of a sudden it was like this dark cloud got lifted off America, everybody was happy, and all the wah, 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 all the whiners and criers that were out there, they were the ones that created the problem in the first place. America's back on track. We are definitely going to be greater than we've ever been. This is the greatest time to be alive, brother.
Sometimes you need to hit rock bottom to pick yourself back up and to reach new heights. Did the country hit rock bottom? Is that what we're experiencing right now?
Well, it was really close, brother. I was really, really worried because can you imagine if we had 8 years of Kamala Harris? Party over, outdone. See you later, brother. But we didn't get that, man. The people stood up. They didn't like the way things are going, and they voted to make America great again, man. This is the time to be alive.
Are you going to be at the inaugural balls doing your thing?
Well, you know, there's a little birdie that says I might just be there pulling a few shenanigans, brother.
So you and Carrie Underwood, you got Snoop Dogg, Kid Rock. I mean, you talk about a comeback for Donald Trump. This is it.
Brother, we got main event karaoke going on right here. You should have thrown Carrie Underwood my way. I'm giving away championship belts, plenty of money tonight, and a bunch of real American beer, brother.
All right. Well, the party is wherever Hulk is, and hopefully the next 4 years is a big party for America because we deserve a lot to celebrate. Any last words from Hulkamania?
You don't deserve shit.
All I got to say, brother, is I got my Trump pump back on, and I'm going to be riding dirty all the way to that inauguration. I cannot wait for him to be sworn in, brother.
I don't believe he knows what riding dirty means.
America great again because we got a real American president, brother.
All
That's
right.
for sure.
Get your Trump pump on, everybody. Great to see you, Hulk. We'll see you at the balls.
He said he's going to be on some drugs when he's on his way to the inauguration. All right, we're having fun. I'm gonna show you just some crazy videos I've got saved. Just some neat shit that's happened. Apparently, is it baseball season? It's not even baseball season. Why do I have so many baseball videos? It feels staged. Like the way the umpire wobbles. The way the player just looks at him. Ow! That's a concussion right there. I love watching him fall, though. That's funny. Here's another. Apparently, baseball videos are in right now. I don't know if there's baseball going on or something. None throwing a strike. What a pro. I guess that's good form. I wouldn't know. I'm not a baseball guy. This one is from inside a courtroom. And you guys, I know you guys are going to love this. I feel like we might have done this whole story one time on the Troll Patrol. Because this is totally the kind of video I would show. You could have just seen it making the rounds on Twitter, but it's a good possibility I've played this on the show, that we did the actual local news hit that this come from, because it does seem familiar to me. But then again, this is what I do every night. I play you guys the most absurd news, politics, and current events. Mox is a ride or die that's been around for a good portion of the history of this show, so Mox would know. Yeah, it has to come from like 2020 or 2021 because the cops are wearing face masks. Fucking A, you didn't spill the bong. I was actually stalling for time because I didn't have an animal video handy. You know what? Media Winch sent me one. Ah, fucking fuck. I can't open Facebook messages on desktop because it's weird. But Media Winch totally sent me a worthy animal video. I think I played this one before, but it's worth it. Twitch people, stick around. I'm gonna listen to music for a little bit, get a little more high. Just show the cop again. Here's a cat burglar. Socialist aunt? I don't think. I mean, I watch a lot of animal videos. I don't think so. It doesn't sound familiar. Grand Theft Cato. Those look like a pair of panties. Cat steals socks and panties. A loofah. A full-blown crime spree. Aunt, are you in Discord? Can you drop it into Discord? I believe this is the kitty, or you can whisper it to me. I love Cleo. I would totally have that cat. I'd be proud of it going around. Being a cat burglar. My cat is a thief. He has no remorse. That was a glove. I love watching cats run around with things in their mouths. Like carrying shit in their mouth. It's so cute. I love watching my kitties. They'll get like one of their toys in their mouth and carry it around. I think it's the most adorable thing. He has a cute way of, look, notice he's like wobbling. I wonder if he had like an injury when he was a little kitty or something, or if it's just a quirk. What a sweet baby. A little asshole, though. You're putting it in evidence bag. That's beautiful. All right, Twitch people, stick with me. We're going to listen to some music and shit. YouTube people, We're going to be here tomorrow morning for confirmation hearings. Podcast people, go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm Justin Freakin. We'll see you tomorrow morning on the Troll Patrol, live.